We only have one thing left. It's Impact.
Fuck.
And we're saving the best for
God
last.
damn it. I was riding around today.
Hold on a second. I want you to first remember that there are people above us, next to us, and they are all elderly. So let's try not to yell too loud.
I feel elderly. I was riding around
And I've told you this before. Hold your thought. My bed is right up next to the wall, you know?
Yeah.
My head's right next to the wall.
Where is this going?
And on the other side...
So when Bryan has his alone time,
and on the other side of the wall, the elderly folk have put their bed up. It's not what you think.
Are you peeking in their windows?
I'm not going where you think that we're going.
And the elderly couple's bed moves more than Bryan's.
Anyway. So both beds are, like, up against the wall right here. So, like, I go to lay down in the middle of the night, and I can hear the dude snoring. I hear this... And I'm like, Jesus Christ, can you move your fucking bed? And then I like wake up at 9 or 9:30 or whatever. And meanwhile, they've been awake. So like from about 8 o'clock on, I just hear, you know how elderly people drink tea and cackle? That's what they do in the morning. Yeah.
No, I didn't know that. I was not aware that elderly people like to drink tea and cackle.
They do. They sit around a table, a bunch of them, and they just sip tea and cackle.
Were you watching this on the Discovery Channel? The Lives of the Elderly?
In HD. We'll get Granny on the line next time, and I'll ask her. She'll tell you.
Okay.
No, her and the red hat sit around a table, and they drink tea and cackle. Yeah. Anyway.
To-do list. 1, drink tea. 2, cackle.
I don't know. Oh, the point was, shut the fuck up when you're yelling here at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Stop using profanity so early. Or so loudly, anyway. I was out today driving around. It's winter in Seattle, so we've seen the sun for the last time until about May. And it's going to rain every day between now and then. And today it was raining pretty damn hard. It's been a rough week around here. My work...
Weather sucks.
Lost power twice. I've driven by guys who ran into power poles. Everyone's crashing into things, and... I was driving around today. It was raining really hard, and it was raining so hard at one point that my TNA, it's more like shit is falling from the sky and falling all over you and all around you on top of your car.
By the way, I think that's one of the signs of the apocalypse.
I didn't need to hear about shit falling from the sky.
I didn't need to watch Impact.
Car. This show,
except with TNA, it's more like shit. It's raining really hard, and it was raining so hard at one point that my car radio started to get drowned out. And I thought, this is kind of like watching TNA, only...
You sure you didn't just go in a tunnel?
Yes. This is like watching TNA, except with TNA, it's more like shit is falling from the sky and falling all over you and all around you on top of your car.
By the way, I think that's one of the signs of the apocalypse.
And it's so loud you can't hear anything. It's all you can think about. That's what watching TNA is like. It's like you're outside and shit is falling from the sky and just cascading all over you.
I can't believe I gave you a full minute to just talk about that. The weather here sucks.
Yes.
I didn't need to hear about shit falling from the sky.
I didn't need to watch Impact.
Car. This show sucks. This show was worse than last week.
It was.
It didn't have a match as stupid as last week's match, but this was a shittier show. And it's actually much shittier. We'll get to that in a moment. It opened up with him attempting to recap all of last week in 1 minute. And then it got worse.
Yep.
The announcers open up saying... Oh, no, you know what? There was almost a dumber match. The announcers open up saying that this week it was the tournament phase of the Fight for the Right tournament. They cut backstage. Christy and Chris Sabin were doing something. Sabin, I don't know what the fuck he's done with his hair and his beard. He just...
That's bad.
Something went awry. So AJ walked in. They got in an argument. Sabin said, "Eat me, punk." AJ attacked him. They got in a brawl. Later, I guess there was another interview, and these were all What they did, everybody, was they took 4 weeks of angles and put it in a minute, basically.
Right.
So then these two were going to have a match, and they were going to just have a tournament match, but Sabin ends up putting the X title on the line.
Sure. Which
he won at the last pay-per-view, and they didn't announce it on the following TV. So this week he just showed up as the champion, and then he lost the belt in 4 minutes.
Mm-hmm. It sucks.
Match was fine, but...
The match was a fine little 4-minute encounter. The promos, as you said, it was 4 months or more of angles done in 1 minute. And I thought, wow, Because for what they were pretty good, and I thought, if this were building up a fight on the next pay-per-view, that might be worth something. But no, they're building up the main event of this show.
That was next.
I left the room for a minute, and they came back, and they were doing it now.
Yeah.
They were doing it to build up a fight that was happening in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And then it was over in 6 minutes.
Yeah. No, it was over in 4 minutes.
Well, kind of 2 minutes.
I see. Yeah, it sucked. This sucked.
It sucked bad.
It sucked a cock.
It did in fact suck a cock. And yes, the title changed hands, and it was a tournament match. So it's always good to have everything flying at you at once.
So then we got a Sting video package, a side of Sting we'd never seen, they promised. The side of Sting was the side of him where he talked about God. He said he was dedicating the NWA Championship to Christ.
Amen.
Think about that for a second. And earlier he'd said that this title had represented everything bad about the wrestling business.
Mm-hmm. Greed. There's more.
Harlots.
Gimmicks.
Sackcloth of hair.
What?
Oh, Jesus, Craig. Thank God you're turned down. I make an actual biblical reference, and Craig is like, what? Anyway. So he's now a man of God. And I was trying to figure out what side of Sting we'd not seen before.
Perhaps they assumed we had not watched his movie.
That's something we should talk about someday. That movie sucked.
It was.
Yes, it did. So, then we had Truth and Lance Hoyt doing an interview to hype up their match, which was in fact next. Truth beat him rapidly. What do you want?
I just have a question. Russo's back booking. We all know this, and we all know that Russo's a man of the Lord.
Yeah.
Is he looking to turn... Well, okay, Sting's a quote-unquote Christian as well.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. And Russo...
I believe Sting's sincere.
Okay. And
as
Russo...
sincere as you, who made a joke about Eddie Guerrero's corpse about an hour ago, but go on.
Anyway. So Sting's a man of God.
Sure.
And Russo is supposedly a man of the Lord as well.
Sure.
Is Russo trying to bring Christ to the wrestling fans of the world?
I don't know.
This would be the worst idea ever. Because out of the three of us, two of us, anyway, just in this room alone, not even batting 500. You know what I'm saying?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, wrestling fans typically are not the church-going type. And Russo is wanting to bring Christ to the masses through the wrestling industry.
Perhaps Russo is he's trying to spread the word of Christ.
Is this his new ministry?
It's and actually this would be an operative term. It's a crusade.
Interesting.
He will leave bodies in his wake as he brings Christ to the wrestling world.
That's because they're all asleep because they've been watching his show. It's been horrible.
Give that mic back.
I'm sorry. I just had a question. Okay, here we go.
I don't know the answer to that
If
question.
that was his goal, was to save people and bring them to Christ, shouldn't he go to the people who are without Christ?
Well, he is.
Wouldn't it be redundant to go to church and tell them?
You're missing the point. I know what Craig's trying to say, and I don't know the answer, dude. But we'll probably soon find out. But Sting is a man of the Lord, so this could have been his doing. This may have been something that I don't know what the deal is, but that is actually a decent question. I'd go as far as to say a good question, given the usual state of this show. So Truth faced Lance Hoyt in a match. By the way, I should note that these dudes are having a tournament apparently, and then something's happening. I don't know what. I don't understand the tournament. But my understanding from somebody that claims that they understand the tournament is that Abyss somehow gets 2 buys. He is already in the finals.
Here's the way it's going to work, because everything has to have a wacky nickname. So there's the Fight for the Right, which is the whole tournament in general.
Okay.
We have Stage 1 and Stage 2 and Stage 3, as we already saw. Stage 4 was these single matches. And then Stage 5 is, and I quote, the 3-way collision, which will be next week between AJ Styles and Truth and a third man.
I thought that third man was Abyss.
No.
Apparently.
It's Bobby Roode.
Oh.
Yes.
So when the fuck does Abyss wrestle?
He will face the winner of the 3-man thing.
Yeah, but when? Hold on a second. Here's why I'm asking. Hold on a second. What's today? All right.
Saturday morning.
Okay, today's the 4th. All right. So you're saying that next week on the 10th we'll have the 3-way.
Yes.
That won't work.
Don't look at me. I didn't book it.
Because what day is the primetime debut?
Next week, isn't it?
No, I don't think so. I think it's the 17th.
Oh.
Okay, so the 17th, I guess. Oh, Jesus fucking Christ.
Dude, there's 2 shows. There's a show on Thursday, and then there's the show on that Saturday, and then the Genesis pay-per-view.
What the
is
hell's
on the
the
19th.
Saturday?
That's that primetime thing you were just
The
talking
primetime
about.
debut's on a Saturday?
That's what you said.
I didn't say that.
You didn't say that.
Anyway, I thought there were 2 shows there.
Give that thing back for a second.
I apologize.
No, it ain't your fault. I'm just
It's
pissed off.
TNA's fault.
Okay, TNA's got the... Okay. All right. The 2-hour special is November 16th.
Okay.
All right, so that's 2 Thursdays from now.
All right. So they have...
Okay, but hold on a second. We'll get to this other thing we have to talk about. Kurt Angle is wrestling on the 16th. He's wrestling on free TV.
We'll get to that later, but okay, for now, we'll just
Craig
accept
doesn't
it is.
even know this yet. And you should just see his face. Why? Kurt Angle's wrestling for free on the 16th, 3 days before the pay-per-view. No, you know he's wrestling on the 16th? Not just a jobber. He's wrestling the winner of the Fight for the Right tournament. So my question is, if he's fighting the winner on the 16th, that would mean that Abyss would have to be in the 3-way next week. Because Abyss has to win next week in order to face Kurt Angle the week after. Otherwise, Abyss faces a winner on the 16th, and he has to wrestle twice that night.
He's going to have to... There'll be either the last 2 matches next week, or Abyss will have to wrestle twice on the 16th.
Jesus, this is fucking stupid.
This is fucking retarded.
Yeah, Kurt Angle is facing the winner of this tournament 3 days before the pay-per-view. And the winner of the tournament gets a title shot.
So they have 2 main events, and they've booked half of them against each other.
So
theoretically, you've got 3 choices. The number 1 contender loses. Kurt Angle loses.
That's not going to happen.
Or you have a fuck finish. On the
Obviously,
primetime
because
debut.
why would they have Kurt Angle job and then go wrestle Joe, who's undefeated?
Why would they have the fucking winner, the number 1 contender, do a job? You wouldn't have either.
This is totally
So
asinine.
you're gonna have a fuck finish.
You have to.
And I can only imagine. Do you make Angle look competitive with Abyss?
So Samoa Joe and the winner of the 3-way run in.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Give that mic back. Yeah, kids, so that's the big news right there. It's Kurt Angle versus Abyss on the 16th. However the fuck Abyss wins this fucking stupid-ass motherfucking tournament. Sorry. Robert Roode faced Christopher Daniels, and they had a match. And Tracy was out there.
Yes.
Let me say something about Tracy. Okay. All right. Robert Roode, Mr. Wall Street. Why, by the way? Did he fucking get a job in Wall Street?
I think it's just because he put a dollar sign on his trunks.
Why is he Mr. Wall Street?
I don't know.
Is he investing his wrestling winnings in the stock market? Is that it?
It's not what you make.
Did he get a job at a bank?
I was going to say, for his sake, I hope so.
We just don't know why he's fucking Mr. Wall Street.
We don't know why he's Robert.
Well, because he's Mr. Wall Street. You can't be Bobby.
I see.
You're Robert. Robert
Fine,
Roode.
Fine.
So Robert Roode comes out with his manager, and obviously, you know, he's got a manager. She's got to make herself useful, so she interferes for the finish, okay? Yeah, that's fine. But she doesn't. She interferes for the finish, and she interferes about 8 other times in the match. And the match is 3 minutes long. What's the fucking point?
I don't know. I just remember the finish, and it was not because the finish itself was so great, because what followed was so retarded. Because, as you noted, the finish was she distracted Chris Daniels, which allowed Robert Roode to hit a move of some kind to get the pin.
Yeah.
And I think they went to attack him later, and AJ came out to make the save. And then Chris Daniels was mad at AJ because he lost because of Tracy. Apparently this was AJ's fault. AJ, who was carrying around his X Division belt, which he won a half hour ago.
I'm glad you picked up on this because I didn't.
Yeah.
I just saw Bobby Roode being sent packing.
I just watched this and I thought, what a dick Chris Daniels turned out to be.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, I mean, we saw something else. I mean, look at Chris Sabin. Craig doesn't know this because he didn't watch the show, but Sabin was a heel today on this show.
There was a heel turn.
Yeah, never before.
We missed.
Yeah, he just randomly was a bad guy. Sure. He's been a babyface for months now. A dork, mind you, but a babyface. Jesus Christ. Then we had the main event. Oh, this was good stuff. I should note that throughout the show, the announcers were trying to explain what this match was called. Yeah, but they were calling it. I'm trying to find out. I wrote it down and I read it back and I was like, he couldn't possibly have said that, and so I erased it.
Perfect.
But anyway, here's what they did: it's Christian versus Rhino in a pole match.
It's not what you're thinking.
They had 4 poles, one on each ring post. And in each,
except for 2 of them.
And in each pole, I'm just trying to explain this because you're just a casual fan that doesn't know what this is about. They had 4 poles, and on each pole was a box. Ooh. Yeah. In 2 of the boxes was in 2 of the boxes
those are fun.
Was a weapon.
They did this gimmick.
Hold on, put it back.
They did this gimmick in Texas wrestling years ago. And when Sean was booking, they have a box, and in 2 of the boxes there's a weapon.
Okay.
And in the other 2 boxes, there's nothing in them.
Okay, you're wrong already. Give it back.
My bad.
Quit jumping the fucking gun. This is Vince Russo. He didn't take something from Texas wrestling in '85.
No. Shawn Michaels was booking that when he was out.
Oh, Russo was watching that on tapes. Let me explain this match to you before you jump in here. There's 4 poles. Let's shut up. Don't get into this again. Just listen to me. There's 4 poles, okay? There's a box on each pole. In 2 of the boxes, there's a weapon. In the other 2 boxes, there's a means of escape. What does that mean? Let me explain what it means. They're going to have a cage match on November 16th, a barbed wire cage match. So the stuff they're getting out of the boxes now, they got to put in another box with their name on it, and they get to take those boxes to the show on the 16th, and they can use it in the... No, hold on. They can use it in the cage. No, let me explain some more.
No. Why necessitate a cage match? If you can escape the cage, what's the point? And...
I like how you're jumping in before I'm done explaining this.
Okay, and to make... what happened to keeping wrestling simple so the simpletons can understand it?
Yeah, this is dumb.
This is stupid.
Let me keep going.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Okay, give that back to him.
No, I'm going to hold this because I have more to say.
Fine. So, yeah, they fought, and there was a straitjacket, and there was bolt cutters, and a loaf of bread. I can't even remember the last 2. There's 4 things.
One of them was a key, and the key was attached to a giant wooden block, like you use in elementary school when you have to go to the restroom.
Yeah, like when you have to piss. There's a giant paddle with a key on it. There's a key, a straitjacket, bolt cutters. What was the last one, Vince? Help me out here.
I have no idea.
Straitjacket.
A knife.
It's a dynamite.
No, it wasn't. Doesn't matter.
Grenade.
Anyway, each guy had a box, which was a Tupperware bin from Walmart, and it had a piece of tape on it and their name written on it. And so apparently they get to bring this box into the barbed wire cage match.
I can only hope they are actually toting these down to the ring as they make their entrance.
Yeah, and we're trying to figure out, okay, what if you get something out of Rhino's box? Is that a DQ?
I can just see Rhino tippy-toeing past Christian Cage to steal his box.
Yeah.
Oh.
What happens if you go over to Christian's box and you grab the straitjacket out of it?
Well, you'd be disqualified for using the straitjacket in the barbed wire steel cage match.
Yeah, you got into the other guy's box. It had his name on it.
Son of a bitch.
And you'd never get into another guy's box. Ever.
I was hoping that on one of the poles there would be a 1-up. Remember from Mario Brothers, a little mushroom and you got an extra man? That's what they need, a match where you get an extra man.
That would be good.
Where if you get pinned, another man runs in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. This is stupid.
Oh, yeah.
This is ridiculous. Who's booking this?
And then, hey, there's more. So afterwards, after the match, after they'd all got their stuff to put in their little box.
The 4 boxes were opened, and then the match just ended.
Yeah.
There was no winner, there was no loser.
Yeah, once all the boxes were filled, the match was over. There was no pinfall or submission. It was just you just had to get shit for your box.
You were criticizing me for not watching this show. I just want you to know I was watching Survivor.
Okay, give that mic back. So anyway,
I'm watching Survivor next week too.
At the end of the deal,
and I hate Survivor.
In runs Kazarian. In runs Kazarian and Shannon Moore in their Halloween costumes. And they were dressed like Shannon Moore. I'm sorry, that's why I was confused. They're both the Prince of Punk now. So they run in. They're a brand new team. They've just formed. They've just got a new makeover. They've just got a new gimmick. And what happens when they run in? Rhino beats them up 1-on-2 and sends them packing. And off they run. Off they prance. Like fucking Maximo. Yeah.
Except he's over. Yeah, this infuriated me. just
I will finish with the only thing on the show that was any good. The show ended with a training vignettes for Joe and Angle. And actually, I just thought it was funny because Samoa Joe's training consists of him doing MMA. He's kicking pads, he's choking dudes out, he's sweating in a ring. And Kurt Angle, the Olympic gold medalist in freestyle wrestling, his workout is he's lifting a bunch of weights.
He was angle-sizing.
He was just lifting weights.
Yep. No combat necessary for this man.
That was his preparation for this big fight with Samoa Joe. I'm going to lift some weights.
This was
the best thing on the show, though, by fucking leaps and bounds.
I guess. It was 2 minutes. It was far, far, far short of the Rock and Brock training videos from that one awesome SummerSlam match. But, yeah, you and Dave were having an argument about the pay-per-view coming up. I believe Dave,
buy rate?
Yeah, one of you was saying 60,000 buys.
Dave was saying 60,000, I said 38.
I would like to go on record as predicting 0,000 buys. I can't imagine one reason anyone would want to watch the show and then buy the pay-per-view. And if you say Joe and Angle, I will say, yes, 2 minutes of this 60-minute program is devoted to the draw of the next show.
Well, they still got a few weeks left. The pay-per-view ain't Sunday. And I should say that, as Craig noted, as you noted, actually, Cyber Sunday is Sunday. And this is like, if there's ever been a pay-per-view that I've had no interest in, I mean, this may actually set the record. There have been some SmackDown pay-per-views where I'm like, I don't really care about this show. Mm-hmm. This is like, I have no... The only... Flair and Dusty, but really, I ain't paying $34 or $39 for that. I mean, no interest in this show whatsoever. And strangely enough...
You never pay $34, actually.
You know what I mean.
I pay for
Sean, and we all split it with you, so don't give me that. But Sean called you and wants to go to the show.
Yeah.
Caden called and wants to go to the show.
I cannot.
Why do people want to see this fucking show?
I cannot explain it.
Dusty. It's got to be Dusty.
It ain't Dusty.
Okay.
I would like to think it's Dusty Rhodes.
But the point is, you know, if there's interest in Cyber Sunday,
there could be interest in anything.
Dave may win this bet. I don't think he's gonna.
No.
I can't picture this dude more.
I have more interest in seeing Cyber Sunday than I do in seeing whatever the fuck the TNA pay-per-view is called.
And the person, I can't remember who was on our board, but they may have made the best statement of all, which was the longer they wait to do Joe and Angle, the more chances they have to fuck it up. Maybe they should have just changed the main event of Bound for Glory and just got it over with and done their 50,000 buys and called it a day.
I hate this company.
Adrenaline rush now. Adrenaline rush.
In today's daily news update here at F4WOnline.com, which is available for free to everybody, we're going to have a link to the TNA spoilers. You want to see shit.
Oh, there's more.
I just shake my head. You know, when Vince Russo first returned, and I buried the man, I got all sorts of emails. Oh, Brian, you asshole. You just have a grudge. Give him a chance. Yeah, like you didn't get a chance in 1999. Yeah. Give him another one. Oh, like you didn't get 2 chances before you killed WCW. Like you didn't get a chance in the early days of TNA, which was the worst of TNA. The worst TNA ever was at the beginning with Vince Russo, and they brought the guy back.
Yeah, and I would argue that it's worse now.
Yeah. So anyway, everyone was mad because I said these things about Russo. Then the first big Russo tapings occurred. Actually, really, the first one was the one where Angle and Joe teased the November pay-per-view on the final show before the October pay-per-view. I was still getting emails at that point.
That was not as horrible.
No, but it was still emails like, Brian, give the guy a chance. This ain't that bad, this and that. So then the first set of spoilers came out that involved the reverse battle royal and the pole match.
And the fight for the right.
The fight for the right tournament. And at this point, I still got a spattering of emails.
That cannot be true.
Like maybe 2.
Were they from vrusso@msn.com?
But I should note that this was only when the spoilers came out. I got no emails when the shows actually aired.
Aha!
No emails like, Brian, you were awfully hard on this when you read the spoilers, but when you actually watched the show, it wasn't that bad. None.
No.
I got no defensive emails. Now, after this set of spoilers came out, I got an email from a former defender who has given up his defenses.
He's acknowledged that Russo doesn't.
He's now just saying, you were right. This is shit.
How does that make you feel?
Well, it doesn't. I don't feel any sort of victory because I always knew.
That and now we have to watch it.
Well, we do have to watch it. Now, I don't mind, though. I just love watching this bullshit. I feel bad because TNA is dying and it's going to croak. I feel bad about that, but it's just like thunder at the end. We all knew it was going down. Just like when Disco Inferno was on the show. At the end in WCW, they all knew it was going down. They were just writing shit to try and have some fun.
Well, it worked. I enjoyed watching Thunder.
That's all you can do here at the end of TNA, is you just cackle as it goes down the tubes. And the shit they've done on this show, I hate to spoil the shows for everybody, but I'm gonna. That big Kurt Angle Abyss match, remember that one?
Sure.
Abyss, by the way, won the Fight for the Right tournament.
As we pretty much all knew he would.
Beating AJ Styles, but not clean. Okay, so first off, he doesn't even become number one contender clean. It's a fuck finish. That's not all, though. So you've got this match with Abyss and Kurt Angle on the special. And we already figured you either have Kurt Angle lose, which would be dumb.
Right.
You have Abyss, who's the number one contender for the show 3 days later, lose, which would be dumb.
Indeed.
Or you have a bunch of run-ins, which would be dumb.
Right.
Okay, well, they chose option B. Abyss tapped out clean to the ankle lock. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So then after Chris Sabin won the belt at the pay-per-view and was not acknowledged the following week, and then the week later he got a match with AJ Styles and immediately lost the championship in 4 minutes, AJ lost the belt to Chris Daniels the next week.
Oh, it's his partner.
Yeah.
Because they had one argument.
Sure. I could go on and on.
Adrenaline rush now. Adrenaline rush, adrenaline rush.
We're going to talk about TNA, which, for those of you who think I hate TNA, for those of you who think I have a grudge on Vince Russo, this was the best Russo show
of the last 3 weeks.
I was going to say since the 90s, actually.
It may have been.
Because everything he's ever done for TNA has been shit, and this show was fine. There was a little bit of wackiness here and there.
There was still a little bit, and this predates Russo, but there was the TNA sickness of too much stuff going on in an hour.
Yeah.
But by and large, this was probably a thumbs-up show.
Oh, God!
I just saw, oh, God, and had to click it there. AJ and Truth and Robert Roode had a match, with the winner getting a shot at Abyss later in the evening to determine the Fight for the Right tournament champion. How did Robert Roode get in this, by the way? I could have sworn he was in the Battle Royal and lost. Did he win a tournament match last week?
He beat Daniels.
This tournament sucks.
Oh, God, yes.
The Jackass crew...
I can't believe I remember that, but...
Jackass crew was shown in the rafters looking... I can't even say in the rafters. They were in a treehouse.
They were. They had a clubhouse, perhaps with snacks and comic books out there.
Yep.
And they were sitting there watching the show. And the deal was... I think the deal was supposed to be that Jerry Lynn had them out there to learn.
Yes.
To take notes. They were constantly pointing at the ring and saying, look at that.
Look, wrestling.
They were doing wrestling moves. And the deal was Chris Sabin's supposed to be the disrespectful one, so he was not impressed and yawning. And all I can say is, it's really bad under any circumstances to show someone watching your wrestling and yawning.
Yeah.
Never do this.
Well, the idea was, you're a heel, Sabin. Yawn during the match. Dumb shit. Where's my cornet drop again? I need the good old cornet bullshit drop here. Here's a question for you. Let's say Vince lives to be 150 years old.
Well, he's not going to.
Wrong one, but that was funny. So then we had the finish of the match, by the way. The match is going along just fine.
Mm-hmm.
Good wrestling, spots. So the manager of Robert Roode, young Tracy, tried to interfere, and Lance Hoyt, who was out there with somebody, Truth, I guess. Odd pairing. Anyway.
That was the funniest moment in the history of the show right there.
So, glad you're amused. So, Lance Hoyt grabbed the girl and put her in the front row.
Mm-hmm.
That'll teach her. But anyway, she's in the front row and she's freaking out. And
a fan spilled his drink on her.
Yeah, a fan spilled liquid upon her, and she freaked out even more. And she slapped him, which was stupid. And this distracted Robert Roode. He went out of the ring, and then something happened, and AJ pinned Truth. They fucked this up, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Everything was going on just fine, and then they had to do an angle.
They had to do something wacky. They couldn't have someone just win the match. No. They had to do something wacky.
Especially the tournament finals. Okay, fine. If you want to have something wacky on an undercard match, great. The finals of the fucking tournament, just have somebody win.
Yeah.
Isn't the point of a tournament to determine who's the best, and you can't even fucking do that in the finals?
The point of a tournament should be to get someone over, and they can't do that.
God. I hope this is one of those shows where by the end I'm burying it.
There was a lot of stupid stuff.
Roode was already bitching out Tracy after commercials, so they just got put together and they're already teasing a split. Lovely. He demanded she hire someone to handle crowd control, image consultation, etc. Boy, though the first series of vignettes was such a success with Robert Roode, now they're going to do more.
Woo.
I'll bet they'll debut the image consultation on the pay-per-view and then not. That'll be the big, it's like the story of his career. Shane Douglas called out Brother Ray. They talked about a problem they'd had. Don was trying to explain it. Then TNA was trying to explain it. And I have zero recollection of it. None. A Bubba Ray, Shane Douglas confrontation. And the best part was TNA's like, I remember that very well. And I thought, no, you don't. You liar. Do you remember this? I don't remember it.
I guarantee you they must have had a match in ECW. I don't remember anything else about it.
No, this was like a couple of weeks ago.
It was?
Yeah.
Well, then no. Don't remember at all.
At least on SmackDown, they spent 5 minutes going over everything that happened on the pay-per-view. Even the stuff from the Raw brand. They're even talking about K-Fed and Cena.
Yep.
I understand that involved Booker T and everything like that, but, I mean, when the show was over, you knew exactly what happened.
We made a complaint at some point tonight, how they opened the show with a recap, and then they showed the same recap like 5 minutes later. We were complaining about it, but really that's good.
Yeah.
Now you can overdo it, but
that's why Ohio Valley used to be so great, was because it was an hour show, which meant they had 43 minutes of TV time, and at least 15 of those 43 minutes was recaps of the week before.
Correct.
You always knew what was going on.
If you missed
always.
If you missed
and
the
that
show,
meant
you get right back on.
When anything happened, you knew why. Because you knew every fucking thing that was going on.
And you know what was important.
I'm hating the show.
I told you there was stupid stuff.
So,
your headphones just broke. Uh-oh.
No, that was a webcam moment.
No, this is a webcam moment. You turned your headphones into a Chinese puzzle. There you go.
I went to scratch my ear, and my headphones leaped from my head. And you can confirm this.
This is exactly what happened. And the best part was, as noted many times, you're an athlete with quick reflexes and highly trained individual, and you cannot stop this fall. You can only observe if they tumble from your head, down your shoulder, and cascade to the floor beneath you.
Vince, you're not an athlete, so I can explain why this is. When you're an athlete, as I am, sometimes your brain will alert you that something is going to happen, and your body just realizes there ain't shit you can do about it. And it just doesn't move.
And you didn't.
I didn't.
You turned your head to watch.
The headphones began to go, and my body told me, don't bother. You ain't going to get them. They're going to end up on the ground. Just go with it.
I actually thought your ear may have gone with them.
This has happened to me in car wrecks, too. I've been in a number of car accidents, and it's always the same thing. I was in Seattle about 2 years ago, and a car full of illegals, Mexicans, in fact, ran a stop sign about, I'd say, from here to one of the cars parked right out in front here. Probably
30, 40 feet.
30, 40 feet, and I'm going 35, 40. And car starts pulling out, and just like my brain told me, you're hitting them. You can try and swerve. You'll probably just run over some pedestrians or hit another car. You're just fucking hitting them, and I did. I mean, there is not even any... But the other strange thing is, like, I was once driving, hauling ass down the freeway. Just hauling fucking ass. And I suddenly realized, I don't know what I was doing, but I suddenly realized that the car, the same 30 or 40 feet in front of me, was stopped.
Shit!
And there was a gigantic line of traffic. And in this situation, my brain told me, if you swerve immediately, you will cut into the right-hand lane and you will not die. And that's what I did. And I had no time to think about it. It was just like, that car stopped, swerve in the other lane.
Now, I've been there before, too. And I've done the same thing has happened. I've swerved in the other lane. And I've driven for, I don't know, a quarter mile and then thought, boy, it's a good thing there was no one in this lane when I moved over. Did that happen to you?
No, I knew, like, I just somehow knew there was nobody there. I guess however, but
you have ESP.
But the point is, sometimes there's a time to move and there's a time to sit still.
And there's a time to say, I'm just going to watch these headphones fall.
Yep.
Okay,
That's what happened.
I accept that.
And we wasted like an hour talking about it, but
I'm just glad everything worked out in the end.
what was I talking about when I was scratching my ear?
No
it must have been
idea.
something that greatly annoyed me.
Bobby Roode, I think. Oh, no, we moved on to Shane and Bob Ray.
So anyway, I think I was telling something in who cares? So, yeah, there's a deal with the Naturals and the Dudleys, apparently. They turned heel on Bubba Ray, stomped a mud hole in him, threw him through a table in the ring. Don wanted to know where Brother Devon was at. And they cut backstage, and he was there underneath a barricade. Not even pinned down by it, just underneath it going, ah! And I will say this.
Yeah?
This is proof for everybody that thinks I just hate everybody and TNA and everything like that. Most heat the Naturals ever got.
Most fire they ever showed.
Yeah.
For the first time in the 4 or 5 years I've been watching these men, it seemed like, hey, they actually hate that guy.
Yep.
When they had Bubba laid out and they were on their hands and knees barking at him, I was like, oh my God. They care.
This was a thumbs-up Natural segment.
Indeed. Probably one of the few.
Where's a very dramatic sort of noise that we can play for that?
Sure.
A great Natural segment that was right there. Thumbs up to the Naturals.
Yeah, both you guys. Way to go.
There's a drop for everybody. You'll never hear it again, probably.
Keep it up.
Clips aired from an LAX meeting with AMW in which they beat them up and border tossed Storm into a wall.
I bet that sucked.
Here's what I got to say. Now I remember something that I was going to say. The Naturals thing, as great as it was, the impact was utterly lost when they immediately cut away and didn't show any recaps or anything like that.
Yeah.
I mean, we were watching SmackDown, and something occurred. I don't even remember what it was. It was Kennedy and Undertaker. Kennedy and Undertaker.
That's true. You're right, though.
Kennedy and Undertaker had a deal. Kennedy bloodied them all up. They went to commercial, and they came back from commercial, and even though we'd just seen it 30 seconds earlier, or 2 minutes earlier, they showed it again.
Yeah.
This is what happened. It's important. You should care. Now, granted, we didn't. They tried. TNA does not try. This dude got fucking border tossed into a wall. We never heard about it again.
He got thrown to the wall. There was a crashing sound. Then he fell 6 feet on his ass to the floor.
And as he landed on his ass, they cut away.
Oh, my God.
Gotta move on. Got a bunch of shit to put on this show.
This was brutal, and they ignored it.
Yeah. Sucks to be Storm.
God, it sucks. I would kill someone.
I would have killed somebody, I think. I'd have quit TNA long ago. I swear to Christ almighty, I would have quit.
Leave this shit.
Austin Starr versus Petey Williams versus Johnny Devine. A chance for 3 men to have a match and none of them to get over.
I was going to say, what this show needed was another wacky three-way.
You know, it's funny, Johnny Devine was part of the Nash-Alex Shelley group, and now he's in a match with the new guy in the Nash group, and no mention's made of it.
Well, they mentioned it.
What'd they say? I missed it.
They mentioned it. I mean, like, in passing.
That's great. Yeah, Johnny Devine no longer with Nash. Now it's Austin Starr and Alex Shelley. And by the way, Alex Shelley and Austin Starr are being pushed. So, of course,
they're fighting.
Petey Williams got the win.
Oh, yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Petey.
Petey came out, and I'm like, boy, that guy's his star's fallen. That doesn't mean he should win.
No.
You're fucking trying to get some guys over, so get them over.
Yeah. No, Austin Starr didn't get the win here.
That's so stupid. That's the kind of shit I hate.
And Austin Starr and Alex Shelley, they're not getting along.
Yeah, it's been a week and a half. Go TNA. Good old parody booking. So then we had LAX coming out, the Immigrants, and they had a flag and an Uncle Sam. They offered P. Williams the chance to come out with them next weekend, burn the U.S. flag. He said the Mexican flag represented pride, loyalty, and honesty, whereas the U.S. flag represented lies, exploitation, and racism. Fans were not happy on that. He vowed to spit and piss on the flag and then burn it.
Mm-hmm.
This was a great promo.
All Conan promos are great, and this is another one.
God, he's great.
The best part was where he invited Petey to I forget what his exact words were, but he said something along the lines of, "Come join us as we burn the white boy's flag." And Petey's like,
wait a second.
I might do that.
I am white, but I am not white and American. Christian and Rhino did an interview backstage, both apparently in different rooms. They tried. I mean, they were mad at each other. It was pretty good. I think just the Walmart value bin shirt that Christian was wearing distracted me. That was
wrong.
Were
you jealous? You're like, hey, that's a good shirt. I would buy that one.
No, I'd get it at a secondhand store, and I'd get a better one.
Oh, there you go.
This shirt was so ugly. God. Then we had Abyss versus AJ in the Fight for the Right tournament finals. At least we knew they'd have a good match, since they always do. Mm-hmm. AJ, I'm going to give AJ some credit. I don't know for sure, but it appeared to me they were going to do a spot where he jumped on Abyss's back. Abyss began to stand up, and he backflipped off of him. Well, he slipped. And in slipping, he hooked his legs around Abyss's head and Frankensteinered him. And I thought, you're great. You are a great wrestler.
I remember that point thinking, I don't know what that was supposed to be, but fuck, it turned out cool.
Yeah, he saved that, I believe. So, and they also had one of the best spots ever. You want a reversal spot that works. Mm-hmm. You want a great spot. AJ's throwing all these wacky forearms. And then he spins around to do the tornado forearm or whatever, and Abyss just punched him in the face, and he took a bump like a tree.
And he fell down and just laid there.
I watched this like 3 times. And you know what was great? Because it was the old MMA. He tried a wacky spinning move, and some fucking guy punched him right in the face.
Well, that was
awesome.
The other reason it was great is because AJ laid there, and Abyss stood over him, and they both stood there for a while, letting everyone know, something great just happened.
I just punched him in the face with my closed fist.
With my fist.
He's dead. And he paraded around, and it was 5-star spot. Christian ran out near the finish. There was a chair involved. There was a referee bump. Another referee came down. Basically, both guys got counted out. So the ring announcer, after consultating with somebody, if that is even a word.
It's not. We'll roll with it.
Just go with it. They announced this fight must continue. Jim Mitchell came out with tacks. Chris Daniels ran down. As everybody was everywhere, Chris Sabin, who had earlier been yawning, ran down, hit AJ. Abyss hit the black hole slam, and got the pinfall.
We watched this show last night. We're talking about it now. And 24 hours later, all I remembered was that they had a very good wrestling match, that the finish had a ref bump and 4 men interfering. I couldn't remember who they were or why.
I remember Chris Sabin's interference. I distinctly remember that for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe because they'd sort of been building up throughout the show.
Maybe. Now that you remind me, I do remember thinking, at least they're doing something with Sabin, but did it have to be here?
Yeah.
They've been talking for it seems like a year. Sabin's our next guy. We're going to the moon with him. And at least now, as out of nowhere and illogical as it is for him to be hating everyone, at least now we think, hey, he's a cocky prick who thinks he's better than these other guys.
Well, the logic runs very, very deep, or the lack of logic, because, Abyss won, but he didn't win this tournament clean.
That's bad.
He's going on to face Kurt Angle next week in a match he will lose via tap out. And one report says 2 minutes.
Oh, good.
I can't fathom it actually being 2 minutes, particularly since Angle said it's the match of the year of 2006 so far, which I'm sure it's not, but he would never be.
He said that about this Kurt Angle versus Abyss.
Yeah. His match with Abyss, he said, is the best match of 2006. That's why I think it can't possibly be 2 minutes. He could not be stupid enough to call a 2-minute match the match of the year. But regardless, so Abyss, the winner of the Fight for the Right tournament, couldn't even win clean. He's losing to Kurt Angle, and he's going to the pay-per-view to get a shot at the title. So,
thumbs down for that.
Thumbs down for the booking of that little deal, Bob. I'd give a thumbs up for the show. What the hell? It was maybe the best show we've seen all week, and better than SmackDown, better than ECW.
I will say having AJ Styles twice in a show usually is pretty much automatic for a thumbs up.
So.
Now, adrenaline rush now. Adrenaline rush.
Let me just say this about TNA. This is a preview of what we're going to talk about for the 2-hour show. TNA has a 1-hour show, and I've heard all the bullshit in the world. They've only got an hour. They've got to get all these guys over, and it's only an hour. Okay, ECW has an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Ohio Valley had an hour.
Yep.
Some of the best wrestling shows there have ever been have only had an hour.
True.
Raw started out with an hour. Nitro, when they first beat Raw head-to-head, hour. Because you know what? You don't need to get everybody over. You don't need to get everybody over. ECW here in this hour had 3 matches.
Mm-hmm.
Most ECW main events are 15 minutes on a show that has 44 minutes minus commercials. Why do you need to get Sanjay Dutt over?
You don't, and apparently you can't.
Why do you need to get Lance Hoyt over?
Absolutely you don't.
Why do you need to get over 95% of the TNA roster? You don't.
You don't.
You need to get over 5% of the roster. The 5% of the roster that are going to sell your pay-per-views. And somebody, I can't remember where it was, but I was reading some thread or some comment, and somebody made some statement. It was about Petey Williams. They were like, man, there's so much, people are bitching so much about this show, but this 2-hour show, I mean, when it was over, Petey Williams had a defined character for the first time. Like this was a victorious thing. Okay, why does Petey Williams need a... That was the wrong time for God to intervene. Why does Petey Williams need a defined character? He doesn't.
He's not selling.
He's not selling one fucking pay-per-view. He didn't sell one fucking pay-per-view before this show, and he ain't selling one fucking pay-per-view after this show. This pay-per-view that's coming up tomorrow or tonight or whenever you're listening to this, it is being sold on Joe and Kurt Angle. Maybe to a lesser extent, it's being sold on Sting and Abyss. That's it. That is it. People are going to go, oh, what about AJ and Chris Daniels? They're selling pay-per-view. Yeah, they're selling the pay-per-view to the same fucking people that buy every TNA pay-per-view. Okay, this is going to be absurd. Joe and Angle that's your money match.
Yeah.
That's the match where you're trying to attract people above and beyond the million people that are going to they're going to buy every pay-per-view that you do. Or did I say a million people?
You did.
Million viewers.
I think you meant... Yeah.
The 35,000 that buy every single pay-per-view, you need to concentrate on the people that are going to sell more than 35,000.
It's called growth.
Yeah. That's why there's never any TNA growth.
There never is.
Well, okay, we need to get Petey Williams over. We need to get the Naturals over.
You get Chris Sabin
We need to get Chris Sabin over. We need to get Low Key over. None of these people getting over are going to mean a goddamn thing. Now, on this 2-hour TNA show, I did not hate the show. I watched the TNA show, and it was 2 hours long, and it was over, and I just thought there were a large amount of stupid booking decisions on this show.
Oh, God, yes.
There was too much happening.
Fuck yes.
In the end, it was not 2 hours that I felt I'd wasted my life on. That's a positive. Because sometimes I will watch Raw, sometimes I'll watch the TNA and the ECW shows or the SmackDown show, and I will think, I just wasted X amount of hours of my life. I did not feel that way with TNA.
Okay, that's fair.
There was some fun stuff on the show, and overall I was okay with it. Now, with that said, this show, the argument that we need 2 hours because 1 hour ain't enough, bullshit.
I always said, if you can't do 1 good hour, you can't do 2 good hours. And I feel kind of vindicated now.
The argument was, if they have 2 hours, they can slow down, they can pace themselves better, and it will be a superior show. No,
they did 2 hours back to back.
This was a 1 hour Nitro that went 2 hours. It was just one thing after another. You counted, I believe. And in the very first segment of the show, we had... How many did you count?
I think It was 14 people in the first 12 minutes.
14 people in 10 minutes, actually, because we were looking at the timer and it starts early.
I see.
In the first 10 minutes of the show, there were 14 people on TV.
That's too much.
Now,
a promo, a match, another promo.
If you're one of those people that think, well, they exposed 14 people to the masses in that 10 minutes, and you think that that's a positive, I'm telling you right now. I am telling you right now, it's not.
No, it's
not.
horrible. It's fucking horrible.
And there have been many threads on the board, and not just on the board. This happened before. I used to hear this all the time when WCW was around. People saying, Bryan, you're too hard on this. Just relax. Don't think about it so much. Just enjoy it. This, that, and the other thing. All of these things that I hear from people defending TNA, I heard the same things, literally almost word for word, about WCW, which is now dead.
Oh, yeah.
It is now dead. And I've said this many times. When I am here on this show and I'm about to make a couple of statements about this TNA pay-per-view that a lot of the TNA fans are not going to like, I will just say that as subscribers, go back through the archives. Go back through the archives of 2001 and 2002 and 2004 and 2005 and whatever we have archived. Read some of the old issues. I have said it before. There are very few times when you're going to look through a newsletter and go, Jesus Christ, wow, was he wrong about that. Boy, oh boy, was he a fool. Because I usually have a fairly good idea of how these things work because I've been watching this shit for 10 fucking years. I've been following it for 10 years, and I've been writing 20,000 words about it for 10 years, and I can see where this shit's going. And Vince Russo is not helping TNA.
No. No. Fuck no.
Now, if you think I'm wrong, fine. That's fine. You rant about it all you want. And in 3 years, you can look back at this period, and I will be vindicated. That's all I got to say about that. Now, let's look at this show, and we shall talk about it a little bit. It opened up with Eric Young running around the Impact Zone with fans behind him. And these fans had signs that said, "Don't fire Eric." Now, I was under the impression that Eric had won his match with Larry Zbyszko like a month ago and was in no danger of being fired. And I have no idea why these fans were here. I have no idea why they had these signs. And if I don't have any idea, I guarantee that any potential new viewers had no idea what was going on.
If there was a new viewer who heard, hey, Kurt Angle's wrestling on a 2-hour show on Spike on Thursday, and you tuned in, and the first person they see is a clown running around in a bad suit saying, "Don't fire me."
Forget Kurt Angle. Forget Samoa Joe. Anybody that was flipping through the channels and TNA started, that was the first thing they saw on this show. Eric Young running around with a bunch of out-of-shape fans with signs saying, "Don't fire Eric." That's a hell of a start to a show right there. Yeah. That is a hook.
And this was the first 60 seconds of the program.
When I used to write these columns for Penthouse, and these people, I would write a column, and they would always make me rewrite the opening paragraph about 84 times. They were like, the first paragraph, you need to hook the readers. Write this one again. This isn't a good enough hook. And I would rewrite it, and and all it was just changing the order of words. Mm-hmm. Rewrite it. And after about the 48th time, I'm like, can you just write the fucking first paragraph for me? You seem to know what you want. It's like a game. I keep writing it until I hit what you want. You write the fucking thing, okay? I can tell you right now that they would have had him rewrite this first segment.
As well they should have.
This was not a hook.
No.
So, then we went to LAX's music playing, and they came down to the ring. They were, there was comedy. Eric Young was on the announcer's table, and he was going to announce some big announcement, and the LAX music played, and it starts with gunshots, and he screamed, "Sniper!" and ran to the back.
Ha, ha, ha.
Ha, ha, ha! So Conan was ranting and raving about how he was going to burn the flag and this sort of thing, and AMW ran down to save the USA. Gail Kim did her diving Hurricane Rana. LAX bailed to the back. This whole segment, including the interview, went about 2 minutes. Mm-hmm. And this was one of the things where I watched and I thought, God, that's great. Where'd it go?
It was, yeah.
And I thought that all night long. It's like you would see something, it would be really cool, and then they'd move on to something else, and they'd never mention it again. And you'd forget about it.
Yeah, it was Gail Kim's big return, and we went out to 7 people in about 3 minutes.
Yeah. I remember I used to watch WWE shows, and I used to always rant about it. It was like they do a big angle, they'd go to commercial, and they'd come back and they'd replay the whole angle. Mm-hmm. And I was like, why? We just saw it. It was on screen 2 minutes ago. This isn't something from last week. We just saw it 2 minutes ago. Why are you playing the whole thing in its entirety again? Now I understand. There's a point to that.
To rub
It's
it in.
important.
Yes.
It's important. I mean, I'm just going to say 9/11 because that's the first thing that popped in my mind, but any major news story, okay? On 9/11, how many times did you see those planes going into the building?
A few. I'm going to make a slightly more on-topic analogy. You turn into a football game and a team scores, they'll go to commercial and they'll come back and the first thing they'll show will be a replay of the touchdown.
Sure.
It's important.
Okay, but I mean, mine was just a news story. I'm just saying something that was important.
Yeah.
And it would be like that for anything. Anything that gets caught on tape and is important, I mean, you'll see it on the news over and over. And I mentioned 911 because, I mean, days
years.
and days
Yeah.
and days. And then it became months. And then it became years over and over and over again because it was important. I'm not saying planes going into a building was great, but it was an important thing. It was an important event that occurred, and it was shown a billion times. And anything like that, anything that is important, is just hammered in your head over and over again. And in TNA, events occur, and then
Everyone moves on with their life.
life moves on. Life moves on.
Dust in the wind is all it is.
And there's an expectation that you saw it for 2 minutes, and you will remember it forever.
Or 30 seconds.
Yes, this was a moment. We'll never forget this moment. Why do we remember moments?
They last. they're
Well,
celebrated.
I mean, Hollywood and television, when moments are created, they're hammered into our heads forever. They become iconic. I mean, what's one of the when LAX comes out, Che Guevara is in their video montage. The same shot that you've seen in a million different places for 40 years. Mm-hmm. We fucking put it into our fucking banner.
Yeah.
We did a spoof on it. It's iconic. They don't have 84,000 pictures of Che. They have one. There's one that they show over and over, and it's an icon now. That's how you create moments. And TNA creates no moments. I mean, the moments that I can think they created are like the rope walk, cage walk, which they had to show a million times because the dude almost died. I mean, that's one thing you remember because it's in the show open and you've seen it a million times. But everything on these shows, there's never a replay. There's never anything going, hey, this is important. Remember this.
The closest they come is they do the wrap-up at the end of the song, but even that is just...
But even that's like...
8,000 images in a row.
And that's when everybody's turning off the show.
Yeah, that too.
So we had Joe and Jay Lethal. Joe killed him in like a minute. I mean, it was great to see Joe squash somebody because really, if I were booking the show, which clearly I was not, the whole thing would be we need a dominating performance from Joe, preferably longer than 1 minute against a nobody, and a dominating performance by Kurt Angle, preferably not
against your title contender.
Not beating the number one contender. And then you say, these two men are going to face off on Monday. These two unstoppable forces are going to meet. Mm-hmm. Okay? The TNA plan was, we're going to give Joe a squash over a jobber. We're going to give Kurt Angle a match with the number one contender that is going to be competitive, and he will win via submission. We'll actually get into the post-match in a while, but they never should have touched.
Oh, fuck.
Never should have touched. But we'll get to that in a moment.
Yeah.
So, we had a bunch of skits with Nash, Alex Shelley, and Austin Starr. I enjoyed these. I laughed because I understood that they were doing a wrestler court spoof in WWE. But that is something that I bet that probably 80% of the people that are even listening to this have no idea what wrestler's court is.
Yeah,
and
this is a very, very inside joke series of segments.
Basically, in WWE, when there are issues in the locker room, sometimes a wrestler's court is held, where like JBL will be the judge, or Undertaker, somebody will be the judge, and they will try the case.
They have attorneys who argue the case.
Yeah, Melina was the subject of one a while ago, and the wrestlers will hand down a sentence, and that's it. It's a wrestler's court, okay? Mm-hmm. Like I said, probably 80% of the people listening to this show had never even
learned about it.
Had never heard of wrestler's court. And think about how many viewers that means on TNA had never heard of it. So this was a show-long, goofy spoof about something that nobody had any idea what it was. I enjoyed it, great, but that should not count. My enjoyment is not what this is all about.
Sounds odd.
I realize that I rant when I'm bored and stuff like that, but really, I understand that this is a business about the masses, okay? You need to book for the masses, the people that have no idea what's going on.
Well, that's the opposite of an inside joke then, isn't it?
That is, in fact, the opposite of a show long, and this is not one comment.
No, it's about 3 or 4 segments, I think.
This is not one offhanded remark that everyone goes ha-ha about. This is a show-long gag. Wrestler's Court.
Which ended, by the way, with a shot of Kevin Nash's ass. Which
Yes.
is also not going to sell pay-per-views.
His bare ass.
Which I really did not need to see.
Dudley's in a promo backstage. Bubba's here cutting this passionate promo. He's like, there's a defining moment in careers where folks step up and actually mean something in this business. And Naturals, it was last week when you beat us up. And first off, the absurdity of this statement, but let's just pretend it was relevant.
Yeah.
So he's cutting this promo, and you're like, wow, that's a pretty goddamn good promo for the pay-per-view Sunday. And then the match is next.
Yes, that's TNA in a nutshell.
Free TV, kids. Dudley's and Naturals in a tables
In a
match.
tables match, mind you, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, the promo, all I could think was, he's doing more to try to get the Naturals over than this company has succeeded in doing for most of the past 4 years, so I couldn't fault him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The match, the highlight of the match to me was I was wearing the exact same thing Bubba Ray was wearing, except my vest was not flannel.
That's true. You had just a plain vest, and Bubba had a...
I had jeans, a checkered flannel, T-shirts, and a ski cap on. And what was I doing? Writing on my couch.
in your living room.
He was wrestling on a national
TV.
television show.
Prime time.
So anyway, they had a tables match, and it was fine. I gave it a star. It went like 3 minutes.
There's nothing else to say.
Devon got put through a table after what happened? Shane Douglas got involved and sacrificed himself, and the Naturals got the heat and then won.
Wackiness.
But
it was a lot of stuff in a very short time, although by the standards of this show, not that much really. The highlight, someone pointed this out, the Naturals hit 3D, to which Don West said, "Oh, what a combination move by the Naturals." And Mike and they had to point out, that's their finisher they just hit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, they put Bubba through a table.
Yeah.
And they won.
So then we had the Shannon Moore, and actually he's in ECW, but his clones.
This pissed me off.
Kazarian, Maverick, Matt, and the Zombie, I believe, all came out.
Sadly, no, it's some other guy.
They're the new
Johnny something.
Johnny Devine. They're the new flock. And as they were cutting their promo to introduce this new stable, it was just interrupted by another new stable.
Yes.
The Voodoo Kin Mafia.
When Kazarian was talking, they interrupted somebody, and they were standing there with sticks menacingly, and Kazarian was talking about how they had seen the light, and he said something about a new mentor or a new figure they were following. And then the lights went out, and this video started playing, and I thought it was going to introduce the mentor. And then the letters Voodoo Kin Mafia came up, and I thought, well, that's kind of a weird name for this crew, but they're kind of a weird crew. It fits. And then suddenly...
Okay, hold on. I got to stop you there.
Okay.
How in the world does that fit?
Just because they're both weird. And they're these very strange men who they would not pick a name called, like, the Killers. They would pick a wacky, nonsensical name.
Well, obvious. Okay, hold on. The idea is it's VKM, Vincent K. McMahon.
I see that now.
And when I saw this reminded me of spam. I get this weird email spam all the time. And it's sent by a program that randomly picks 2 words and an initial and puts them together into a name. I swear to Christ Almighty.
I believe you.
I just got one. It's from Violently G. Celeste.
It's a fine name.
I get these all the time, and I laugh every single time I get them because I'm going to see if I have any more in my spam bin here that I can laugh about.
Violently G. Celeste.
I should read these on the show every time. Oh, here's another one. Spats Q Beam sent me this one. I might get more.
You can start a whole federation with these characters.
You do.
Spats Q Beam, the new Intercontinental Champion. This is the era of Spats Q Beam.
I get these I get like 5 a day, and it's a random 2 words and an initial. Okay, So it's like they decided VKM, and they just randomly ran it through like a computer, and it came up with Voodoo Kin Mafia.
Yep.
That's our new stable name.
That's us. We are the Voodoo Kin Mafia.
Or they went to New Japan and asked Chono or something, come up with a name for us here.
that may be, actually.
And he said, Voodoo Kin Mafia. And they went, yes, indeed. So anyway, they came out and they challenged Paul Levesque, Michael Hickenbottom, and Vincent K. McMahon. Not saying Hunter, Sean, and Vince, so they just assumed everybody knew their real name.
Yep. Classic Vince Russo stuff there.
Sure. And they said DX was sinking like the Titanic. I wish they'd thrown in the line about two old dudes trying to be cool. That would have made this the best segment ever. But they didn't. So I do have to say this. It was dumb. I did not hate it nearly as much as I expected because the crowd was so into it. Here's the deal, everybody. There's no war.
Oh.
In case any of you are confused, there's no war. WWE gives a mild shit about TNA, and I mean very mild. There is no concern of TNA taking over the world. There is no new Monday Night War on the horizon. There is no war. Now, with that said, TNA fans want there to be a war.
That is the key.
They want to believe that there's a war, and thus they get into this war. They're the only ones, mind you, these 800 people in the Impact Zone.
Right.
But you know what? Fine. I love that Rhino promo where he came out and buried Vince. It was so dumb. Challenging Vince to come to the pay-per-view, whatever he did. It was dumb, but they went so crazy for him that it was like, he's a star.
Well, on the one hand, it's great that you're making the live crowd happy, but are people on TV really impressed by this? Are they gonna...
They can be. You can convince people that a guy's over by the reaction that he's getting from the crowd. If every time the guy comes out, the crowd's just going absolutely ballistic, you think, God, that guy must be a star. It is about perception in this business.
No, that's true.
And in that way, I didn't hate this, but it can lead nowhere good.
Well,
I mean, they did the deal where they went to Titan Towers or whatever, which conveniently they did on the day that they were all in the UK, and they were about 4 miles from Stamford, Connecticut. They were like pointing and like, that blur out there in the distance is Titan Towers, and you're like, wow, hell of an invasion there, guys.
Yeah.
And it's wacky and goofy, and it's frankly kind of embarrassing. But that was all on the internet, so who cares? But I don't see where this can go that can be a positive, other than they just come on TV every week and say mean things about WWE.
I predict there'll be one funny skit where they mock DX, they come out in costume, and then I don't know. DX is not going to show up at the Impact Zone for a match.
No.
I don't know how this is going to lead to the
or
voodoo.
mention them. They will never be acknowledged on WWE TV.
I can honestly see someone walking to Vince McMahon saying, Road Dogg and Billy Gunn to skip making fun of you, and he would say, who?
Yeah.
But and the promo itself, I don't know where it's going, but it was fun while it lasted. I just hated the fact that they had the new group out, and then the other new group out came out and killed them.
Yeah.
And I think the first new group, the Nameless Weirdos, weren't they threatening to beat somebody up? Wasn't there a fourth man in the ring at some point? I've totally forgotten.
I don't remember. It doesn't.
Too much shit in too little time.
Too little time. They had fucking 120 minutes.
Or sorry, whatever.
Christian and Abyss had a match in a cage.
Rhino.
Oh, Jesus.
Christian Rhino. Yeah, correct that.
I actually wrote Abyss. Rhino had a match in a steel cage. This was the match where they both had boxes with their names on them. There were no boxes.
They lied to us.
Here's another example of you assume you're getting a whole bunch of new viewers, and they tune in, and this is what they get.
Mm-hmm.
They get a cage match where the announcers were trying valiantly to explain how this came about, what was going on, what the rules were, and it was like a mess.
Oh, God.
And the best thing was they did that whole pole match to get the stuff to put in their boxes, and then they come here to the cage and they don't get the boxes.
Nope.
The boxes are outside the cage, and you have to ask for whatever you want, and it gets sent through the cage.
There's nothing I like to see more than a wrestler going, Mr. Referee, sir, could you please hand me my key?
Yeah, and the best part was, let's just say I'm Christian. The door closes, I'd immediately ask for my chairs. No, they did spots. Let's not actually ask for everything. Let's do some spots. So anyway, I will say that the crowd heat for this was out of this world.
It was insane. I couldn't figure out. But by the end, this turned into a pretty good match. But for the first 2 minutes, it was another Impact match, and the crowd was going nuts.
I gotta say this. People, I as well, they can't be in the Impact Zone all the time. That's for sure. They need to go out of the Impact Zone for some pay-per-views here and there and that sort of thing. And granted, the fans can be very jaded, but sometimes those fans know when it's time to step up. And like workers, they step up.
They actually, in fact, they may be the only people in the company that raised their game for the primetime special.
Gigantic thumbs up for the fans.
You guys rock.
In the Impact Zone. They helped make this show significantly. I think it's another reason that so many people were like, this was a great show, is because the fans thought this was the best show they'd ever seen in their lives.
I can easily see how someone who was in the building would have left thinking, man, we hit a home run.
Yeah. So they had this match, and it was very bloody. They did a lot of stuff.
Yes.
It was a good match. There was too much bullshit involving the boxes and the objects, some of which was dumb, such as Christian put Rhino in the straitjacket, and Rhino made a comeback on his own with no arms, using a straitjacket, and then he just took it off. I've never actually seen a straitjacket where you can just remove it.
This may actually have been the straitjacket from the How Shoulders Shredder became Vinny
It may have been.
Which
This
was a sweater.
The most useless straitjacket I've ever seen in my life. But the finish was Rhino spearing him through the door, and Christian landed on the floor. He took a hell of a bump, by the way.
Brutal.
Just a crazy
Oh, my
bump.
God.
Landed in a heap, but he won.
Yeah.
Because he was the first man to touch the floor. And I watched it, and the idea was, Christian wins, but we get Rhino over. But Christian got nothing out of winning. And by winning in the manner he did, Rhino really didn't get a whole hell of a lot out of it. He could have gotten more out of it. I hated this finish. I really hated this finish. I mean, if you're going to put over Rhino that strong, just put the fucking guy over. What are you afraid of?
Having him get out of a cage first. Christian would still be unpinned, unsubmitted.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What do you...
As it is, Christian wins every match.
This was cowardly. That's the only word I can use to describe this finish. Cowardly. You guys were too big of pussies to put somebody over.
They didn't have the balls to let somebody win.
Yep. Pussies. That's all I got to say.
Yeah.
Not to Christian and Rhino. They were true men.
No.
Christian
took a hell of a beating.
Bookers were pussies. Just fucking put a guy over. God, that annoyed me for some reason.
Well, on a typical show, it may have annoyed me more. On this show, there was so much other stuff to hate. I think I was just distracted.
AJ Daniels and Sabin had an X-Title match, which was 2.5 stars.
For example.
6 minutes, maybe. They got a lot more time than usual. Usually they get 2 minutes. This time they got about 6. And, I mean, this was one of the better 6-minute matches you'll ever see.
Sure.
But in 6 minutes, how great can it be? If it even made 6 minutes, it may have been 4. But the gist of it was that, and there was interference here that I actually liked. I actually liked this interference. They're having a match, everything's going along great, and out comes Christian, covered in blood, bandaged up with a microphone. He jumps up on the apron and he starts ranting about how he's still unbeaten. And this is like one of those things that you saw in 1996 and you hated. Like, why is a guy coming out in the middle of this match and interrupting it? So he comes out and he's ranting, and AJ drop-kicked him right into the fucking barricade, and it was great. It was like this guy, this star, tried to interfere and got thwarted. AJ brawls with him to the back. Daniels, actually, who was it? Yeah, AJ brawled with him to the back, and then Daniels pinned Sabin and won the belt. And, of course, AJ and Daniels had words after. They've broken up, by the way.
Yeah.
There was never an actual breakup. They're just no longer a team.
You're right.
The breakup was the new booker came in, which was not announced on TV, but we're all supposed to know that that's the booking regime broke up this team. But anyway, so it's Christian and AJ at the pay-per-view. I was fine with this.
I really hated this. Yeah. For starters, we never saw AJ and Daniels break up. They had one argument after the Daniels lost to somebody, and AJ was not there, which is why they were arguing, which is great. So they come into this match, and they're kind of acknowledging each other, they're pointing back and forth. The announcers are talking about them being a team, working together, and they kind of were. So now you have the two baby faces working over the heel in the freeway. That's always good. And the heel, by the way, is holding his own and fighting back.
Yes.
So then at random points, Daniels and AJ would just hit each other, and then a minute later would go to hit each other and hold back and yield. So they're going back and forth, and that was driving me nuts. Then the thing with Christian happened. It was wacky and weird and different. And then AJ, during the middle of his title defense, chose to walk away and brawl with this guy who granted, was annoying and interrupting his match. I can see that. But Then Saban goes and pins Daniels, and the X Division title changes hands for, I believe, the third week in a row.
Well, that was the part that I hated. The third title change in 3 weeks. I mean, why not? Why could Saban just not have retained it and then Daniels won it here? I mean, why do we need
anything?
Why do we need 3 title changes in 3 weeks?
I think they announced they're doing Saban and Daniels at the pay-per-view too.
Yeah.
Which they got 2 good. The end result is you end up with 2 good new matches for this pay-per-view, which are Daniels and Saban and AJ and Christian. The process of getting there was so fucked up.
Well, Saban could have held the belts all the way to the pay-per-view and then lost it to Daniels.
I totally agree.
Too many title changes. Russo.
Too much bullshit going on.
Oh. Then we had LAX outside for the flag burning with Petey, and this was hilarious, actually.
This was great comedy.
They're about to burn the flag, and they gave the butane lighter to Petey, and he starts cutting this patriotic promo about America gave him opportunity, and he had a dream, and this and that, and he goes, "You want to burn this flag over my dead body?" And they were like, "Alrighty,
deal."
And they
you got yourself a deal there, son.
They killed him.
They went to kill him. They were going to light him on fire and kill him.
Until the Popos arrived.
Conan said, "Run, the Popos." I love Conan.
They showed up, and he ran off, and it was fucking great. And then it got even better. Mike Tenay appeared on TV, and apparently thought he was in the Memphis studios in 1975, cutting this promo about the kid from Canada. Actually, the following words verbatim were pronounced in this promo by Mike Tenay. "Boy, was I wrong."
He said, "Before I always said you didn't have to like LAX, but you had to respect him. Boy, was I wrong."
The kid from Canada.
Yeah.
Wouldn't succumb to peer pressure. In my mind, Petey Williams, you're the real hero.
That's what he said. Yeah. This is like a bad video blog.
This was so great.
Oh God.
This was straight out of the greatest days of Ohio Valley.
It was.
Just awesome.
Hokey and wonderful. I also like that it was never out and out said, but it was highly implied. The real problem here was that they were going to burn the flag. Not that they were going to burn another human being.
Yeah.
That's incidental.
The flag.
The flag is the important thing.
The flag's a major concern there.
And then it got better.
Yeah. Don West plugged the pay-per-view from, and I quote, Genesis Central.
Yes! They set up a desk for the express purpose.
I thought they built a building.
Even better.
They put up an edifice.
Whatever they did it for the express purpose of having Don West being at Genesis Central.
Oh, yes. He must do this every week till the end of time.
Yeah.
This was fantastic. Then we had Kurt Angle and Abyss.
This segment with the TNA thing and then Don West plugging the pay-per-view, I thought was the highlight of the show. I'm dead serious.
Pardon me. Certainly the most memorable. Kurt Angle and Abyss. One match of the year. Sorry, Kurt. It was the best match on the show. It was a good match. It was fine. It was maybe 2 3/4 stars, maybe 3 if you're feeling particularly generous. They had a match back and forth. Angle looked fine. Took a lot of bumps. Looked good, all things considered. They brought some thumbtacks down, which ended up in the aisle.
Well, the highlight was Jim Mitchell disappears during the match, and he comes out with a shiny, bright wheelbarrow full of thumbtacks. And Don West says, "This is what TNA is all about."
Tenay said that.
Oh, Tenay said that. I'm sorry. Mike Tenay. This is what TNA is all about. A wheelbarrow full of thumbtacks pushed by the sinister minister.
Well, it was funny for 2 reasons. First off, when he goes, "This is what TNA is all about," your first thought is, thumbtacks?
In a wheelbarrow.
In a wheelbarrow. And then he sort of explains it like, TNA is all about unpredictability. And I thought, when's the last Abyss match that did not involve thumbtacks? This is not unpredictable either. This is completely predictable.
This is formulaic.
So, anyway, they did this match, and Angle won clean with the ankle lock, and, I realize that Abyss went back and forth with him, but you've got 8 million guys on the roster. Do you really need to have the number 1 contender for the World Championship losing to fucking Kurt Angle?
It really hit me as Angle was making his entrance. He's got the cool, I think the new song is cool, and the lights go out, and he's got a spiffy new entrance, and he's coming out to fight at Abyss, and I thought, this is the stupidest match anyone has put together in years and years and years and fucking years.
I didn't think that. I've seen much dumber matches.
Well,
but this was a dumb idea.
It was very dumb.
I mean, let me put it this way. Abyss and Sting really probably aren't selling any buys. Maybe a few, probably not. Joe Angle's the money match.
Okay.
That's the one selling the pay-per-view buy. So Abyss doing a job ain't going to hurt the pay-per-view that much, if at all.
Okay.
But with that said, why?
Well, why? But I think giving away Kurt Angle's first match for free on paper, or
That was dumb.
I'm
talking more about the opponent.
I agree that they're both stupid, and Angle's first match is more.
Yeah,
stupid.
but let me say this. Giving away Kurt Angle's first match on TV is a dumb idea. With that said, if it is set in your mind that this is a very important show and you must give away Kurt Angle's match on TV,
okay,
I would have had him go in there and destroy someone.
Yeah. I agree.
Just have him destroy somebody.
I think he should have done an interview in the show and been interrupted by somebody. I'm just going to throw this name out there. The Naturals, for example. It doesn't have to be them. It could have been a million other people.
I would have been happy with him destroying both Naturals.
Oh, I was going to say, he needed to beat up 2 or 3 people. He should not have had a match. He should have been jumped, cut both guys off, hit a couple of suplexes, an angle slam, and an ankle lock. Everyone goes crazy, and he drove a stare down.
You know what? I know that TNA, the bookers, are way too big of pussies to do this, but you know what you do? You have some sort of angle where the Dudleys, you have Devon face Samoa Joe, and Bubba Ray face Kurt Angle, and both guys just fucking destroy whichever Dudley they face.
That would have been fine. That would have
been better.
You've
got 18 million time world champions, and these two guys just fucking destroyed them one-on-one.
Mm-hmm.
And Sunday at the pay-per-view, these two monsters are going to face off.
That would have been better.
Instead, let's look at what they did.
Okay.
They put Kurt Angle in with the number 1 contender and had him win. All the guys on the roster, that's what you decided to do. There are better options.
Yes.
It was a long, competitive match. Perhaps you could argue too competitive.
And the match was fine. It wasn't great. It's not like, wow, I got to pay $30 to see this guy wrestle again.
Yeah. It was not. If this had been match of the year, that might have been something different. It wasn't.
No, it was a fine Impact main event.
Now, Joe just destroying nobody. My biggest problem with the show is the aftermath.
Yes.
You had Angle tap this guy out, and what happened afterwards was Joe ran out. Joe ran down, and Angle gave him an overhead belly-to-belly. Went for the Olympic Slam. Joe gave him the Enziguri. And I should note that this got way less heat than you would have expected.
Than the first time he did it.
Angle put on the ankle lock. Joe rolled him outside, hit him with a chair shot to the face. Threw him in the ring. Abyss was there. They start both stomping on Angle. Sting drops from the rafters. Abyss goes after him. Sting gives him a high cross, and Abyss falls in the tacks, which were in a darkened area of the arena. He hit the tacks. They immediately cut away. We never saw them again. This was the epitome of wasting thumbtacks.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, but we've seen that in every Abyss match. But you're forgetting something. We did, in fact, see them again. They brawled to the back. We saw Joe and Angle in the ring for a bit, and then it cut to the back, and in about 15 seconds...
Hold on a second. I'm talking about the tacks.
Oh, the tacks. I thought you meant I never saw Sting in Abyss again.
No, I'm talking he fell into the tacks, and they immediately cut away.
They were, in fact, wasted.
They were utterly wasted. So, then Abyss and Sting are brawling, and Sting chases him up the ramp. They go back to the ring, and Joe has Angle in the ankle lock. There is even less heat than there was earlier. They cut backstage, and as we had noted, about 5, maybe 10 seconds earlier, Sting had chased Abyss to the back, and they cut backstage, and Sting is suddenly upside down, hanging from a snare of some sort. He stepped into a little loop, and it pulled him upside down, like in the Bugs Bunny cartoons, and Abyss is hitting him with a bat.
We missed about 8 minutes of this fight. And at that point, I just started to laugh.
So then
it was high comedy.
Then they cut back to the ring again, and Joe had him in the choke. And this aftermath went like 7 minutes. I may be in the minority here, but I will say this. Somebody on our board said, we were arguing about why is Joe and Angle being done so fast. And somebody on our board made the comment, maybe it's better. Because the more time between now and their pay-per-view match, the more time TNA has to screw it up. That man's a prophet.
Can you imagine 6 weeks of this kind of build?
If they had 6 more weeks, this pay-per-view would do 25,000 buys.
I'm sticking to my 0,000 buys prediction. This show left me so much not desire to see this. Okay.
I swear to God, I may be the only one, but I left this pay-per-view with less interest in Joe and Angle than when I had going in.
There's a million things to hate here, but here's the biggest one for me. It's like they sat down and said, okay, we got a main event on Sunday. It's Joe versus Angle. We have to make people want to see that match. And I want to say, morons! People already want to see the match. The reason they want to see this is because they want to see who will win. That's all. You don't need to turn Joe heel. You don't need to have them brawl every show. You just have these two unstoppable forces, and people want to see which one is going to win. That's all.
What is funny is I'm going to read you exactly what I typed here, which was, Joe and Angle should have never touched. It was the one match in wrestling today that didn't need an angle.
Yeah, it did. From the moment, from the very moment Angle stepped from the impact zone, it did not need an angle. And they had the first brawl. I hated the first brawl, but I mean it got over, and I thought once it was done, I thought, well, now they won't touch for a few weeks and the show will be fine. Now they've had a fight on every fucking show. I've already seen Joe versus Angle.
Well, this is why it's so retarded. If they actually thought we need to shoot an angle, this is why they're dumb. There's a reason why when Joe and Angle looked at each other, everybody pissed their pants.
Yeah.
Because there has been a Joe versus Angle for about 2 years now. Angle has been this dominating machine in WWE, and Joe has been a dominating machine in TNA and ROH. There's your angle.
Amazing. Yeah.
And your audience knows.
They do. They absolutely have no idea what people want to see.
No.
What people want to see is they want to see a match where they think either guy could win, and they don't, and they want to cheer for it.
They know Angle's great. They know Joe is great.
Yeah.
They know they'll each hit each other very hard and throw each other high in the air, and they want to see this great match. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
And
all you needed on this show was Joe destroying a man, an Angle destroying a man, and a video package saying that these two monsters were squaring off on Sunday.
Tune in on Sunday.
That's all you needed. And they just went on and on. And if you don't believe me, watch the show again. Watch the reaction when Kurt Angle came through the curtain for the match with Abyss, and watch how the crowd reaction dies and dies and dies and dies the longer this thing went on. That's telling you something right there. Because like we said earlier, this Impact Zone crowd wanted. They knew this was the show. They need to give this show everything. And even they were killed by this.
Yeah.
This was too much.
Oh God, it was stupid. And it's the one match that would have worked just fine with just two unstoppable monsters. They did not need to turn Joe heel, which they pretty much did by having him team with Abyss and work an Angle over. And it just, God, I hated this.
Wow.
I hated the show. There's some very good wrestling on it, but I fucking hated the show overall.
Now, adrenaline rush now. Adrenaline rush.
Well, kids, here we are for the Bryan And Vinny Show for Monday, November 20th, 2006, actually being done late Sunday night, following the TNA Genesis pay-per-view. I would like to note there will not be any Brent Kremen on this show. I'm only going to speak of this very briefly, but I've got to get a little something off my chest. Those of you that were in the chat room during Wrestling Observer Live probably witnessed a freak-out on my part, because at approximately 6:40 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, I heard voices outside this here condo, and one of the voices sounded an awful lot like Brent Kremen's voice.
Uh-oh.
And then I began to hear this. Indeed. He began banging loudly on the door at 6:40 p.m., which I should note
First of all, it's an hour and 20 minutes early.
Hour and 20 minutes early, and in the middle of Observer Live.
Yes.
So, first off, this threw me off my game. Not that I have much of a game on Wrestling Observer Live, But I was sitting here going, Jesus Christ, what's happening here? What's this moron doing? And I couldn't just leave, so I tried to ignore it. And the banging continued for a while, and then it just sort of stopped. Mm-hmm. And during the next commercial break, I went over to allow Brent and his handler Kirk, who's a fine man, and no one was there.
Of course not. They gave up and
Now you'll recall that last time Brent was supposed to be here at 8 o'clock.
Uh-oh.
And he arrived at 7:50, and I was getting food. He freaked out, even though he was early, and his plan was to go to a neighbor's.
Right, and look up your phone number.
Which he did. Mm-hmm. He went to a neighbor's house, he got on the internet to get my phone number, and he called.
And amazing, the neighbors never called the cops.
I've never been so angry with Brent as I was at that moment, when he actually went to a neighbor's house. Mm-hmm. Instead of just waiting outside for 10 minutes till the appointed time, when I might show up to allow him into my home, went to a neighbor's.
There's a reason we have not heard from Brent in the past month.
Disturbed these poor people.
Yeah.
And
there's no better word for that than disturbed, by the way.
They didn't come over the next day and yell at me or anything like that, but anybody that's ever had spent 5 minutes with Brent Kremen, I guarantee that they were annoyed. Mm-hmm. So when he vanished and I opened the door and there was nobody there, I knew he'd gone to a neighbor's house or he'd gone upstairs, and I began cocking the shotgun. I was ready to kick somebody's ass. Mm-hmm. There were many suggestions on the board, suggestions of beating the hell out of Brent and then doing the show from the squad car. I was fine with that idea. I was fine with kicking him in the nuts as hard as I possibly could, choking him, blooding him up, whatever the case may be.
I usually envision, I know this is going to sound funny because I'm not a fighter, but I usually envision just elbowing him to death.
I was fine with appearing on the 11 o'clock news.
Yeah.
Just this man snapped here in the Gold Leaf condos here in Linwood and killed a man. I was fine with that. Mm-hmm. So I tried to be calm, and at approximately 7:40 p.m., an hour later, he returned, knocked on the door, and I opened the door, and I was very calm, and all I said was, if there's a God, you did not go to a neighbor's house. And Kirk, his handler, said, I wouldn't allow it. He made Brent walk to Taco Bell.
Yeah.
Now, there is a giant thread on the board ranting and raving about religion, and there have been statements on this show made about Jews, Christians, the whole 9 yards. I will say this, Mike Rowe, I don't care what you think of religion. I don't care what you think about people that follow the Christian religion, and apparently there are some people on our board who are very anti-Christian and very angry about the possibility of a person being a Christian. Mike Rowe is a man that gives Christians a good name.
He's a saint.
He should be deified.
He should, really. There should be a Mike Rowe Day.
There should be a Mike Rowe Day, because Mike Rowe took Brent home after this pay-per-view. Mm-hmm. And he is the second man this weekend that has given Christians a fantastic name, the other being the Apostle Paul, going down to Oregon. Such a fine man. I mean, last time Paul worked security, this time he did music, and
very talented.
Paul, he's 20 years old, and when I told Tammy that, she almost fell out of her chair because she thought he was about 60 because of his gigantic beard. Mm-hmm. This is a young man. He was reading C.S. Lewis on the way down there, and he puts 1,000% into everything he does. Every single thing he does. When they put him in charge of music, it was like you were giving him $200,000 to do music for the night. I mean, he was a professional.
He was going to be the best music man in all of wrestling.
He was going to be the best music man in the history of the earth.
Yeah.
Just a fantastic man. And Mike Rowe, a fantastic man. And Kirk, I don't know if Kirk is a Christian, a Jew. I don't know what he is.
You don't care.
I don't care. He is a fine, fantastic, wonderful gentleman. And all three of those guys will be treated to a great barbecue, or fuck, I'll take them to Dancing with the Stars on December 22nd.
There you go.
They will be rewarded for this because,
Brent, on the other hand,
these three men, better men than I will ever be. That's all I have to say. That's all I'm going to say about Brent Kremen. Probably will never hear his name again for all I know. He annoyed the shit out of everybody just existing, and I don't know.
Yeah. It got to the point where he was counting the number of times we told him to shut up, and that means he knows he annoyed us.
Oh, yeah, he's like a child. He understands. He's like a 7-year-old that knows that he's being annoying, and it's just, you know what he is? He's a living troll.
He is. He's a troll of life.
He is a living, breathing troll. I mean, those of you, everybody on the board, you all know trolls. And I'm sure that those of you that have never been on a board before, you've been to a message board and seen a troll. Well, Brent Kremen is a living, breathing troll.
Brent was sitting on the chair on the side of the room, and the center of the room was a coffee table. On the other side of the table, I was watching the show from the floor. And at one point, I looked over on the table, and there was a large book. I don't remember what it was, but it's a large hardcover book. And I envisioned picking up the book and chucking it like a ninja star.
If you would have done that, I would have killed you. But
because you like the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I could...
But if it would have been a rock, I'd have been fine with that.
I envisioned the book colliding with Brent's head.
A stone, some sort of tablet.
I could see it vividly. It was a beautiful thing.
Okay, no more talk of Brent.
Okay.
It's over. Unless his name should come up in the course of this pay-per-view as a moment where we wanted to string him up. Much like Abyss was strung up tonight on this fantastic TNA pay-per-view.
This was a fucking great show.
This show was great in a way that the Worst of Thunder used to be great. This was... You know what this was? I actually... I wrote it at the end of the update on the front page of the site. This was the best and the worst of TNA. This was 50% like the best pay-per-view of the year, and this was 50% the dumbest shit you've ever seen in your whole life, all wrapped up in one.
I'm not denying there's a lot of dumb shit in the show, but for me, I would say more 80-20.
Well, I'll put it this way.
There was some, don't get me wrong, perhaps the stupidest shit we've seen all year, but...
Any pay-per-view that has Chris Daniels and Chris Sabin, and AJ Styles and Christian, and Joe and Daniels, all of which were in the 3.5 to 4 or 4.25 star range. If you say that that was a bad pay-per-view, then just stop watching wrestling.
Yeah, I can think of nothing better to say. If you do not like the wrestling in the show, then this is not the hobby for you.
This is not your sport.
No.
Now, don't get me wrong. If you ranted and raved about stupidity on this show, join the club.
We're going to.
We'll be doing plenty of it tonight. But we are, all of us listening to this right now and speaking, at the core, we're wrestling fans. And Christian and whoever he wrestled, they had a great match.
They did.
I've already forgotten his opponent. That should tell you something right there. But AJ Styles and Christian, they had a great match. And Chris Sabin and Chris Daniels, they had a great match.
They had a fucking great match.
And Angle and Joe, they only got 12 minutes, which I severely question. I have no idea why, since there was plenty of pay-per-view time left. But that was like the only 12-minute match I can remember seeing vividly in the U.S. that was better than that was Rey and Eddie Guerrero in their mask match that I actually gave 5 stars to in 1997. That was fucking out of this world. This was a great, great match. I gave this one 4.25. If it had gone longer, you know, God knows how good this match would have been.
Yeah, there was no limit to it. It didn't get enough time.
But we'll rave about the good stuff as we get to it, and rave about the shit as we get to it, because there was plenty of shit, and it started out with that, in fact.
The show opened with bullshit.
The Voodoo Kin Murderers, or Mafia. Dave actually called them the Voodoo Murderers, which is watching a lot of Japan will do that.
That's a much better name.
The VKM faced Johnny Devine and Maverick Matt. And Kazarian was out there.
And Kazarian.
Was he actually in the match?
It was a handicap tag.
Really?
For absolutely no reason.
I thought he was just out there.
No.
I didn't actually think he was in the match.
I guess I could be wrong.
Well, this was such bullshit, I didn't even figure that out by the end.
Yeah.
Somebody actually did IM me and say that I forgot that Kazarian was in the match, so I presume you're right and I was wrong. But listen, kids, I follow this very closely. I take a lot of notes, all right? And I pay pretty damn close attention when I'm not wanting to punch somebody out. This stuff shouldn't go over my head. It really shouldn't. And it did. So I figure it ain't my fault. That's TNA's fault. So they had this match, and apparently, I could be wrong. In fact, I'm sure that Kip James and his wacky partner would disagree with me, but it appears to me that the Voodoo Kin Mafia gimmick is that they're spoofing DX, but they're even shittier. And the defining moment of this match was, I guess it was BG James was selling. And it was time for his big comeback.
Right.
And Shawn Michaels often, I should say often, every Shawn Michaels match, he does the flying forearm, takes a bump, both guys are down, he does a big kip up, and he starts his comeback. So BG James is lying on his back, and he decides he's going to do a kip up. However, he's too fat.
Indeed.
So he's on the ground, and he starts kicking his feet, and it looked remarkably like whenever you used to try and do a kip-up.
Indeed.
Just a beached whale. Just kicking its flippers, or flipping its floppers
Flopping around.
or whatever you want to call it. And he's attempting to get to his feet, and finally he beckons to the referee, "Help me!" And the referee helps his fat ass to his feet. He tags in Billy Gunn, and the comeback is on. And Billy Gunn is setting up for the sweet chin music, and he's stomping his foot like Shawn Michaels does, and the crowd's clapping along and getting into it. But it's a swerve. He does a Cobra clutch slam instead.
Yeah. He actually hit the pedigree at one point, too.
Yeah. And, oh yeah, he did. He hit the pedigree and then set up for the super kick. But whole match went about 3 minutes.
Think about this.
This was an in-ring debut of Johnny Devine, Maverick Matt, and Frankie Kazarian, and they lost.
Whatever the new gay gothic club is called.
The Flock. I just prefer the Flock.
It
Why
may
not?
well be.
The Flock proceeded to lose in their debut, which is always a good one. And like there were no other 3 men that could have done a 3-minute match with the Voodoo Kin Mafia.
Elix Skipper was booked.
Elix Skipper was... we'll get to that in a minute. So, anyway, it went 3 minutes, like I said, and afterwards, VKM promised that the ground battle would be starting on Impact, at which point Mike Tenay, the announcer, who is in fact sitting at ringside at a desk for all these shows, said, and I quote, "I know where I'm going to be Thursday night. I'm going to be glued to my screen watching Spike TV."
Bullshit!
Liar!
Rampant bullshit.
Oh, Mike Tenay's been the star of this show the last couple of days.
That's true.
Any pay-per-view, kids, that ends with Mike Tenay looking sternly at the camera is a thumbs up in my book, and that happened tonight.
This segment was not done yet, by the way.
There was in fact more. Raven came down to the ring in an outfit that immediately caused our good friend Vince, who's a gigantic dork, to remark, "What comic book is this from?"
I can't figure it out. Raven stole this from a comic book, and I can't figure out which one.
I don't read comic books. I have no earthly idea, but I guarantee you're right.
Yeah.
Because Raven has had a million wacky ideas that have come from Spawn or some other wacky comic. So he comes down in some goofy outfit. Kazarian and Bentley have dragged Johnny Devine down to the ring, who had in fact done the job, and then they hit him with a cane several times. And I sat there, and I thought, why is it that every team in TNA has a mentor that browbeats them or beats them after they lose a match?
Or just every team doesn't get along.
Or that.
Yeah.
But the point was, it's like the Naturals. Shane Douglas is always yelling at them when they lose. And no sooner did I mention that, kids, than they cut backstage for the Naturals.
Yeah. By the way, as they were beating Johnny Devine, the crowd had such sympathy, they were chanting "one more time."
One more time.
This is one of many times where the crowd did not react, I think, the way TNA planned.
No, and it was great.
Oh, it was great.
So, they were cut backstage, and there was Shane Douglas and the Naturals. And as you'll all recall, the Naturals have been putting one over on old Team 3D. They beat them in a tables match. They put them through tables. They had a broken table in the back, in fact, that they had put Team 3D through. And Team 3D was not at this pay-per-view. Now, multiple choice. The Naturals explained what would be the word? The absence of Team 3D by A, saying, "We beat these fuckers so bad, they're hospitalized." B, "We beat these fuckers so bad, they're too scared to show up." Or C, "They've got a booking in Japan."
Is it C?
They did in fact say C.
They said C.
Team 3D had something better to do tonight. They were so mad. They were so angry that for the first time ever, the Naturals had beaten them in a tables match and put them through tables and humiliated them. They were so upset that they went to Japan for some matches.
With other people.
With another company.
Yes. Thumbs down.
Thumbs up.
Well, yeah, there you look at it.
Anything that makes me laugh and cackle is a thumbs up to me. Sanjay Dutt and Jay Lethal faced the Naturals, and I wish I'd seen this match before young Sanjay Dutt was on Observer Live tonight, because I would have asked him, what the fuck happened at the end?
Okay, go ahead.
I will tell you what happened. First off, they had this wacky little match, and the Naturals were doing some stuff, and let me tell you something. Sanjay Dutt and Jay Lethal, they looked great. They tried their asses off. They were doing flip dives. They were taking bumps. They were working like mothers. The Naturals, on the other hand, are horrible. The finish of this match saw one natural lift up young Sanjay Dutt for a powerbomb, and the idea was that the other natural was going to come off the ropes and give him a missile dropkick.
They've done this before, and it's looked great.
Yes. Well, tonight, the natural was out of position.
The natural, Chase Stevens is a blonde. He had the man in powerbomb position and was miles and miles away from the ring post with Andy Douglas on top.
Now, you would think that a team that has been wrestling together for years and years and years would get in a situation like this where the one natural knows there's no way he's going to be able to hit this dropkick. And he'd do something like go, back up! You know.
Closer,
you're too far away. No. They are a team, by the way. This will not be calling a spot.
Sure.
You're telling your partner, you're too far away, jackass.
I can't jump that far.
Back up. Okay, so no, the natural decides, I'm just going to go for it anyway.
He's standing up there, pushing the top rope. He looks yonder in the distance and sees his partner and his target.
Sure, a little blurry. There might be a rainstorm between him and the natural in question, but
like a golfer testing the wind to aim for the tee or aim for the pin.
So he leaps through the air, and what does he do? He comes up short and kicks his own fucking partner in the back. His partner falls down. Sanjay Dutt falls on top of the blonde-haired natural, and even though this is the funniest fuck-up you've ever seen, the blonde-haired natural just covers him, and the ref counts 3.
This was a historically botched finish.
And everybody booed. They look like the biggest geeks, and I just thought, there has never been a team that has been so completely useless for so many years and has still gotten pushed.
Los Naturales.
I cannot think of a team.
No.
Ever in history.
I can't think of a wrestler.
This is a team that's like, the running joke, it's not even a joke, it's just reality. Over the last, 10 years, no team lasts more than, 3 months. They're always broken up rapidly. Like poor Paul London and Spanky, a great team, they're breaking up over a girl. And here,
they're both doomed, by the way.
These two guys they won't break up. Please break up. Please break up, go your separate ways, fail, and leave my TV screen forever.
I guess I'd rather have them as a team having one shitty match than singles having 2 shitty matches, but regardless, they blow. God. Yeah, so far this show was off to one hell of a start.
This show was hideous at this point. So Conan came out with his Mexican pals, and he vowed to burn the flag tonight no matter what. They just won't quit. Apparently this has to be done on TV. They just can't go outside and burn it, between Thursday and Sunday. It's got to be done live on pay-per-view. So Tenay, by the way, was sickened by this and gave another stern lecture to these Mexicans. He said he hoped Jim Cornette laid down the law. He said, you just knew Conan was going to play that First Amendment card.
He did. He's in fact outraged.
How dare he exercise his right to free speech?
This is he was outraged about exercising the right to breathe in and out.
Sure. Just absurd.
You bastard.
Jeremy Borash, who has the best tan in the whole company, I should
Still
know,
does, yes.
interviewed Daniels, who said he was going to... They had a bunch of these, and the reason I mention is because rock music was playing.
Yeah.
But it only played for 15 seconds, and then somebody figured it out and shut it off. But they kept doing this, and it was just wrong. Stop doing that.
The bumper music for the promos was bad.
The bumper music makes it sound like it's a pre-tape, or it's like a recap.
Something. I don't know, yeah.
The music in the background is for recaps, kids, not for live events. That's what I say. So Chris Daniels faced Chris Sabin for the X title, and they had a great, great match.
Fuck me, this was awesome.
And the idea, I guess, was that throughout the show... Okay, here's the deal. On the TV special, the 2-hour Impact, Daniels and AJ came out, and they just randomly had broken up. They were just...
Sorta.
No, they had, because Mike Tenay said former partners.
I see, okay.
That indicates they are not currently partners.
Fair enough.
The operative term being former. So... I guess they decided, well, let's break them up, and then we'll shoot the angle breaking them up.
Yes.
That's how things work. Yeah. So, I'm not even getting to the rant I was going to get. I'm just going to move on. So, they decided, let's book backwards. Let's break them up at the pay-per-view after they've already been broken up. So, in this match, Daniels came out, and, AJ Styles came out. And what did he do?
Sabin brought a chair into the ring.
Yes, he stopped him from using the chair.
AJ ran in, grabbed the chair, and left, and that's all he did.
Okay, so
that's he didn't lay a finger on anyone. He just stopped him from using the chair.
He did just make an appearance. So really, that was the only interference in the whole match, and I will forgive them because the match continued just fine. And Daniels won clean with a roll up. This was a thumbs up.
This was a fucking horkin' huge thumbs up. The great thing was, besides just the fact that it was great, Chris Sabin's a hell of a heel. We have not seen him. At least I don't think he's been a heel before.
Well, he was a great heel in that he worked as a heel.
Yeah.
He had this spot where he's going for this giant dive, and
that was a great moment. It was a great moment.
One of my pet peeves are these heels that still do all these flashy, exciting moves.
Yes.
That just doing the move, you're asking the fans to cheer for you.
Right.
And then there's like confusion. Why aren't the people booing me? Well, let's see.
You're doing cool stuff.
You're doing cool stuff.
Right.
Cooler than your babyface opponent. So his big spot was he went for a tope, and he stopped at the ropes, he stepped through them, and he did a double sledge off the apron.
He did an axe handle to the floor. And then I don't remember if he actually literally gave a finger, but he looked at the fans and said, fuck you, I'm not going to entertain you. It was killer.
Buddy used to always do the spot when we were wrestling. He was a heel and I was a babyface. He would never yell at the people. He would never do anything. It was just how he worked. And he'd always do the spot where he would slam me. He would walk to the ropes. He would go outside. He would put his foot on the bottom rope. He would look at the people. And then he would just get back in the ring and do a fist drop on me. And they would boo like, God damn it, we wanted you to go up top. And then later, he would slam me again, and he would go out, and this time he would get to the second rope. But then he would look at the people and shake his head, not in front of these rednecks, come back in and drop an elbow. The people would go, God damn you, you motherfucker. And then, of course, the very end would be, he would actually go up to the top, jump off, but I would hit him in midair and start to come back, and the place would just go crazy. And I didn't have to do anything. I was the worst babyface in the world. I can't stand there and pump my fist and clap my hands and stomp my feet. That's the most phony thing in the world. I just can't do it. But I was always a gigantic babyface when I worked with Buddy because he was always a gigantic heel.
Because he is Buddy.
And it's how you work. And Chris Sabin did a fine job this evening working as a heel.
The other great thing was a lot of Sabin's matches, they go boom, 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 boom so fast where it's cool, it's fun, it's entertaining, but it's not necessarily believable. This at a slower pace, and everything flowed so smoothly into each other, it actually felt like they were countering, exchanging holds and moves. They were not just following a script.
Yes.
They were, and it flowed, it was natural, it was smooth, it was good stuff. Thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Nash had a meeting with his crew. He said they needed a big win tonight by any means necessary. And then they did some other stuff that just appeared lewd.
They did.
Let's move on.
Yeah.
Alex Shelley and Austin Starr faced Truth and Lance Hoyt. Nash did commentary for the match.
The highlight of this, by leaps and bounds, was Truth and Hoyt coming out and dancing together.
They did. Lance Hoyt had I believe it just said L. Hoyt.
It was a NFL Europe Frankfurt Galaxy football jersey. It said L. Hoyt in the back. I don't know if you ever played with these guys. It's possible. But regardless, he came out in this jersey and they danced. And when I say they danced, Hoyt can move.
Sure.
For a big white guy.
Yeah. So Nash did commentary. He explained that his shoulder was in a sling because he had done a wacky spot in an ex-title match at Budokan. And this caused Don West to say, "That's not what I heard."
Don West, he thought Kevin Nash may have been pulling his leg.
Master Sleuth. So they had this match, and Austin Starr is so wacky. And I have come to the conclusion, I thought about this when I was first watching this match, after seeing Chris Sabin's fucked up hair and goatee. Every X Division guy was super generic.
Right.
They were all the same guy. So at some point, the decree came down that everybody had to make an effort to just get as ugly as possible. And I think they've all done that.
Kazarian, Maverick Matt.
They've got makeup, they're pale, they're getting fatter, they've got weird fucked up hairdos, their hair, just the wackiest hair and facial hair and just weird. So anyway, this was one of those matches that I love because they start doing this big comeback and it's so awesome that they kill the crowd. When your comeback causes the crowd to get less into the match, you're doing something wrong. That's what these men did. And Shelley, they had the best finish in the history of wrestling. Only the twisted mind of Vince Russo could have come up with something this stupid. I blame Russo for this. I don't care who was in charge. I just blame Russo, as I want to do. So they're having this match, and Shelley hits a big frog splash on Lance Hoyt. But he doesn't pin him. Oh, no. He says, hey, Austin, go get my camera. Now, he's not going to use his camera for a weapon. No. He wants Austin to bring the camera up close to the action so that he can get his victory on tape.
Correct. Apparently he was not taping or TiVoing the pay-per-view at home.
On tape.
Or is not. Apparently TNA does not give copies of their shows to their talent.
He wasn't fine with the 3 broadcast quality cameras. He needed a camcorder version of this finish, and thus he was pinned. I've never seen anything so dumb.
Well, there you go. The paparazzi winning streak continues.
The paparazzi stupidity streak continues. Nash, of course, yelled at them afterwards.
That's 3 for 3.
That's 3 for 3 so far, kids. There you go. Then we had AJ Styles and Christian. 2 thumbs up.
Indeed.
They had an awesome match. I would like to note that after 4 years or so, you would think that perhaps AJ Styles would be picking his spots and taking less stupid bumps. You'd think wrong.
He's still dumb.
He did a dive and hit both. It wasn't even both legs. He hit both calves on the guardrail.
It was almost both Achilles' heels.
No, it was the calves.
All right.
As a non-athlete, Vince, you wouldn't understand this, but there is nothing worse than hitting your calves on something and getting a fucking knot in them. And he hit both calves on this fucking guardrail. And he has to be hurting. He took bumps on his head. He took bumps on his neck. He took bumps outside. He took bumps inside. He took bumps off the top rope. He took every possible bump he could possibly take. And he lived. That's the good news.
For now.
Christian was right there with him the whole time. It was just great. And we had the run-in, but at least it played into the story. Christian went for a chair when he could not defeat this man. Thank you. And AJ, actually it was Christian grabbed the chair, and Chris Daniels grabbed the other end, and they're having this tug-of-war. And as they're having this tug-of-war, AJ goes for a sunset flip, and Christian is pulling and pulling and pulling, and then he just lets go and sits down, grabs AJ's legs, and pins him. So Chris Daniels cost AJ the match, basically.
Yeah.
And I would have preferred a clean finish, but for a finish with interference, this was fine. It was.
It would have been better to just have Christian pin AJ clean and get over. But yeah, because the interference felt like a small part of a greater story, it wasn't just meaningless.
Here's the way I look at it. If every match on this show would have been a clean finish, I would have been more than happy with this fuck finish, because at least the idea of this one was it wasn't to protect a man. I hate a fuck finish where the idea is you're trying to protect the loser, or you're trying to make sure the winner doesn't get over or something like that. The whole idea of this finish was to further the Daniels AJ storyline. Thus,
Okay,
I'm fine with it.
There you go.
But when you have interference and shit all up and down the show, it doesn't mean anything. And this was one of those times. And afterwards, we had what's his face? Help me out here.
Rhino.
No, the other geek. Or actually, first Dutton Lethal ran in, and then where was the handshake? Did we totally miss that?
Who had the handshake?
Oh, I guess
They never did.
Where was Jerry Lynn?
That was after the Sabin match.
Oh well. Must not have been that important then. Jerry Lynn yelled at Sabin and Daniels afterwards and demanded they shake hands. Did they? I forget.
No, Sabin did. Then when Lynn turned around, Sabin
he gave him the cradle shock.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, Dutton Lethal came out and tried to get AJ and Daniels to stop fighting. They failed, so Rhino hit the ring. He demanded they shake hands. Daniels extended his hand, but AJ grabbed the mic and said, "Thanks, Dr. Phil, but no thanks," and stormed off. And it was kind of weird because, I mean, they were trying to put it over like, how dare AJ behave like this? And it's like, well, he got fucked.
Yeah.
He got totally fucked. I mean, why would he be like, oh, okay, no big deal, let's shake hands? He got screwed.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
Now, if Daniels would have left, that would have been something.
That would have made
It's like
sense.
Daniels, Daniels got his win earlier on, and he was responsible for the whole fuck up. Why should AJ have to shake hands? Daniels the one that should have walked off, but I guess they want to turn AJ for Christ knows what reason. So AMW cut a promo vowing to beat up LAX, save the flag, that sort of thing. James Storm said the First Amendment protected you from the government, but not from AMW. And then within 30 seconds made fun of about 5 different minorities, including Asians, as Gail Kim stood nearby.
That was funny.
That was something else right there. LAX faced AMW. They had a good match with let me I guess to preface this, LAX and AMW. First off, go turn off the heat while I'm ranting. It's freaking hotter than shit in here. LAX and AMW. I don't think they go out drinking together after shows. I think they're wrestlers in the promotion that are closer, better friends, that sort of thing. And this match was a lot of guys getting dropped in funny positions, guys getting hit real hard. I don't want to say a lack of cooperation. There were moments where dudes were on totally different pages, mostly Chris Harris and Hernandez. But overall, it was all right. The one scary spot was AMW threw Homicide over the top ropes and just threw him totally off kilter. And he fell down right onto his bad shoulder. And I thought, someone's going to get cut tonight. Someone's going to get knifed. Someone's going to get burnt. Fuck the flag. They're going to burn AMW. So anyway, they had this match, all sorts of wackiness. Conan got involved near the finish, took the referee. Homicide then took the opportunity to use a blowtorch on James Storm. Unfortunately, not the fire part of it. He just hit him with the metal part and got the pin. Hernandez got the pin. Good match. It was another one of those matches where they tried the WrestleMania near falls, and there was actually a moment where they did that one near fall too many, and as soon as the dude kicked out, the place just died. Like, well, okay.
This was... It didn't, you could be right. I never thought about the unprofessionalism or lack of cooperation. I just thought stuff got fucked up.
Well, there was, but less... First off, I suspect a lot less things would have been fucked up if they had been friends. Mm-hmm. I don't think they purposely dropped Homicide, but I think they would have been more careful with Homicide if they were good friends. I don't think they were like, let's drop this fucker right on his shoulder. Yeah. But I think they were throwing him outside, throw him. And that was that.
One way or another, things were going along fine. They did fall apart for a while, and yeah, it went too long. And it went about 3 minutes too long, and then it kind of finished, and by the end it was just a good match.
And then they had the big angle, which was the bad guys going to burn the flag and kill young Gail Kim, and Petey Williams, of all people, made the save, given that he's Canadian, and he's turning babyface. Apparently the crowd doesn't know. I don't know if these folks in the Impact Zone, it was folks that had not seen the special, a whole new crowd, but Petey ran in, and it was like, what the fuck's Petey Williams doing here? So, Cornette came out afterwards, the man behind Smoky Mountain Wrestling, and he said that the behavior of LAX was so appalling, the most appalling thing he'd ever seen in this business, he said. He was stripping them of the titles.
And the fans went,
boo! Yes!
These people are clueless.
These diabolical, racist Mexicans got stripped of the titles and everybody booed. I laughed like a madman.
Yep.
And so Cornette said, you have until Impact to hand over the belts, and the fans chanted bullshit. This is bullshit. And it was.
It is.
Why do we need to strip these guys of the titles? No logical reason.
Again, not because they're trying to set Petey Williams on fire.
No.
That's okay.
Sure.
They tried to light a flag on fire. Yes, this angle failed. It backfired.
I guess the angle is going to be that Conan and his crew are going to sue Jim Cornette. So maybe that means, I guess the idea would be that a gag order, Cornette can't speak for like 6 months to recover from his illness or whatever, so. But anyway, that appears to be where this is going, but God, they just, Russo.
They're so out of touch.
Russo kills every belt.
Well, that too.
He kills every belt. There's never been a guy better at killing belts than Vince Russo.
And Exhibit A would be Genesis 2006.
Exhibit A would be just destroying the X title by changing the title 4 times on 4 shows, or 3 times on 3 shows, or whatever it was. And Exhibit B would be just stripping the tag titles because heels were being mean. And Exhibit C would, in fact, be Sting versus Abyss for the NWA World title. This match, about 5 minutes into it, they were brawling outside. They'd been hitting each other with chairs. They'd been brawling outside for way longer than the 10 seconds allocated by the company prior to a countout. They brawled up near the ramp. They set up a table with barbed wire on it. And Abyss was about to throw Sting through this barbed wire table when Jim Mitchell said, "No, don't." Apparently, Jim Mitchell was afraid that Abyss would be disqualified. Mm-hmm. This was when I determined that this was, what did I call it?
A some DQ match.
A some DQ match.
Most wrestling matches are all DQ, wherein if you violate the rules, you are disqualified.
Or no DQ.
Occasionally, there are no DQ matches where you cannot be disqualified. This was a some DQ match, where if you violate some of the rules, you can be disqualified. Other ones, you're A-okay.
And unfortunately, Vince Russo did not provide a screen alerting us as to what was a disqualification and what was not.
It was like a game.
I determined
guess
it
what
was
was legal.
This whole pay-per-view, in fact, I wrote that exact, I'm going to even read you exactly what I wrote, because this is kind of eerie. In the front page update on the show, my exact words were, let's see if they can screw this one up. This is like a game now. It is.
There you go.
Now, from what I can determine, brawling outside the ring was not a DQ.
No, and apparently there's no limit.
There's no time limit, apparently. No countouts. Closed fists were not illegal.
No.
Chair shots were not illegal.
No.
There were, in fact, chair shots.
Okay.
Interference by an individual's manager was not a DQ.
Right.
Hanging a man upside down by his feet.
Fair game.
Fair game. Choke slamming a man into thumbtacks. No DQ. That's illegal.
All kinds of stuff with thumbtacks, yes.
Sure. Sting, by the way, of all people, got choke slammed into thumbtacks.
Well, yeah, yes.
Sting is a 48-year-old preacher. In fantastic shape, by the way.
Yes.
Better shape, Vince, than you've ever been in your life.
Correct.
And he is 48 and a preacher.
Yeah.
He can eat hog all day long. And he looks great.
He does.
And he took a fucking choke slam into thumbtacks.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I don't know what inspired that.
What inspired it was the fact that he could jump up immediately afterwards, hulk up, and make his comeback, which nobody wanted to see. What was funny was...
Wait a minute.
What?
I don't know. I thought at that point, because this is before most of the bullshit, but he got chokeslammed into the tacks, sold it for about 4 seconds, popped to his feet, flexed, and locked Abyss in the sharpshooter, and I thought, holy cow, he's going to... At this point, I thought, he's going to tap Abyss out here, and this is going to be a great little 5-minute match.
Well, okay, what happened was, Sting actually laid out all the thumbtacks. They're all spread out on the mat, and Abyss grabs him and gives him a choke slam into the tacks.
Right.
The place just went crazy. There were people jumping up and down, they were clapping, they were cheering, they were going nuts, and Sting stood up and flexed, and it killed them.
I see.
And all I could think was that the fans see Abyss as their guy. He's been there since day one.
They were singing the Abyss song tonight.
They were singing the Abyss song. There were a lot of them chanting, "Let's go Abyss." I think they wanted to see their guy beat Sting for the NWA title.
They may have.
And when Sting just no-sold those tacks, I think that took the air out of him for a while. It got significantly worse, by the way.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
They brawled outside, and Sting, after taking a bump into thumbtacks, took down a deal, his rappelling cable, tied it around Abyss's feet, and hoisted him above the concrete. Now, when I say that, that's what ultimately happened. In fact, it took about 2 minutes for him to actually get this fat ass off the cement, because this is just one man doing all the pulling, and he couldn't get it hooked up.
Yeah.
I don't know how they eventually... It may have been a deal where, like, the referee had to help him.
You would think. He was struggling to hold Abyss up and work the clamp at the same time as he hooked to the ring, and I think eventually the ref helped him off camera.
Sure. So anyway, he hangs him there finally, and Sting had this look on his face like, God, this sucks. Starts hitting him with the steel chair, and then he just sort of lowered him. I've hit you with a chair enough times. Let's continue wrestling.
Yes.
So they end up in the ring back doing spots. And Sting did a spot, and Jim Mitchell pulled the ref out of the ring. This was completely illegal.
Yeah.
So they continue brawling, blah, blah, blah. They end up on the ramp, and Sting goes to throw him through the barbed wire table, which Jim Mitchell had earlier said, that one's definitely a DQ. So we've determined that. So the ref says, no, don't do that. So Sting shoves him. The ref goes, no, seriously, don't do that. Come on now. Let's play fair. Sting shoves him again. Third time's a charm. He gave the ref a clothesline. The referee signaled for the bell. That, in fact, was a disqualification.
Your winner by DQ, the Monster Abyss.
Your winner by DQ, the Monster Abyss. And then Sting put him through the barbed wire table, and Abyss twitched. So I'm thinking, God, that was dumb. That was the dumbest thing ever. They broke every rule in the book, and then the finish was a DQ. They basically had a DQ and a no DQ match.
And then, just for your thinking, it's the dumbest thing ever, they pull the rug out from under you, and you go plummeting deep into the depths of dumbhood.
They showed me.
They showed you.
The referee came out and announced that, per the rules instated 4 years ago and never really adhered to, at least for sure not in the past year or two, the NWA title can in fact change hands on a disqualification. Your winner and new champion, Abyss. And the defining moment of this pay-per-view,
Perhaps of this company's history.
the history of the Earth, I think, actually, was Abyss was laying there in a heap.
In the barbed wire.
He was in a heap. He was he was surrounded by broken wood. He was wrapped in barbed wire. He was bleeding profusely. Jim Mitchell threw the belt onto his bleeding carcass, and he said, look at Abyss. And I looked at Abyss, and I thought, it's even dumber.
It's the dumbest thing ever.
That is your champion right there.
It's almost like they decided they could outdo anything WWE did, and so they said, we'll see your weak world champion, and we'll trump it.
We will see who can write the dumbest TV.
And boy, did Abyss is 1,000 times worse than Rey Mysterio at this point.
I actually made that comment on Observer Live today when we were talking about this perceived war, this big war between WWE and TNA.
Yep.
I've determined that there's a battle between Raw and TNA to write the worst television. And on this show, TNA won it. Let me tell you.
Yes.
Champion of the world. Total nonstop action.
World's stupidest show.
Raw will never top this one.
This was dumb.
Good luck tomorrow, Vince. Try and beat this one. Try and write a dumber show. You'll fail.
The gauntlet has been thrown.
So anyway, God.
Retarded.
And by the way, I put out the challenge on the front page. Please send me emails telling me how great that finish was. I have yet to receive one. I am still waiting. The challenge is out there. Email me and tell me why Sting vs. Abyss was so great and why that finish was so brilliant. I want to hear it. God damn it. And that brings us to the main event. Joe and Angle came out. My very first words in the update were, let's see if they can screw this one up. I had faith in TNA.
I did too, actually.
I had a great, especially when the first thing Jeremy Borash said is, your referee tonight is Earl Hebner.
I immediately thought, screw job.
Yeah. So anyway, they went out and had a great fucking 12-minute match.
They did.
They threw each other all over the place. Angle took the, where he put the guy in powerbomb position and spin him headfirst into the guardrail. He got thrown into the steps. He bled like a stuck pig. He took the fucking muscle buster, which was the scariest thing I've ever seen in my life. The thing with angle matches is, angle matches are sort of like Flair matches, and there are a couple of other people, Terry Funk. Guys where you watch it and there's a real emotional involvement because you really are scared that at any moment they might break their neck and die. Seriously.
I know.
I watched this match and there were moments where I screamed in terror. Just screamed in utter terror that Kurt Angle was about to die on my TV set. And you don't get that with everybody. Believe you me. With AJ Styles, I look at him and I'm like, God, that poor guy in 10 years, he's going to be fucked. I watch this match and I'm like, God, I hope he gets up. And there's, there's an it's sort of it's kind of
morbid,
distressing and morbid, but it's a real emotional involvement in a match. And I was just glued to the screen for this baby.
Yeah.
Beat the hell out of each other. It was, like I said, one of the better 12-minute matches you'll ever see. All sorts of craziness. The finish was the clean tap-out ankle lock submission by Kurt Angle on Samoa Joe. Pretty much what I figured was going to happen. I suspect the booking over the next few months will be Joe beating Abyss for the title. Probably Abyss. I suspect Joe's going to get the belt. And then you've got, or you could even hold that off a little bit longer, have Joe beat Angle in the rematch.
I was just going to say.
Joe gets the title, and then you've got the third match is the rubber match and for the belt.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a lot of ways they can go with this. I have no problem with this finish whatsoever.
No.
This was one of those matches where you can't say this hurt Joe. If you think this hurt Joe, I don't want to say you have no understanding of wrestling, because after watching this pay-per-view, I don't think I have any understanding of wrestling anymore, but this didn't hurt Joe one bit.
No.
Not one bit.
Especially not where he got on the mic, he called Angle back, and the crowd was saying, you tapped out, and he said, you're goddamn right, I tapped out.
Yep, you're goddamn right, I tapped out. I am fine saying this man was the better man tonight.
Mm-hmm.
But he demanded a rematch and a handshake, and Angle responded, oddly enough, by refusing. I did not expect this. It's going to be very interesting how this whole thing plays out, because I'm actually intrigued. I'm intrigued because Kurt Angle, in some ways, is very reminiscent of a Ric Flair. Angle is significantly better as a heel. Like, actually, I shouldn't say significantly, because he's goddamn great no matter what he does.
Yeah.
But Angle is a better heel than he is a babyface. With that said, I don't know if he can get them to boo him.
There's that. And you can say the same thing about Joe. Joe, Ring of Honor was different because the fans just cheered for everyone. But
this feud really doesn't need a babyface in the heel.
Yeah, that's the point. That's the bigger thing.
And really, what this feud doesn't need, let me put it this way. Maybe it does, but if it is, the fans will choose it. The fans could have made this choice. They're trying to force the hand. And
even there, this wasn't. It's not so much that now Angle is evil and Joe is good. It's not that clear. It's Joe wants another fight, and Angle's saying, no, fuck off, I already beat you. And it's
sure.
not... It's... I hate the term shades of gray, but it's just...
you just don't know the answer yet.
Yeah, and you're right. It's not, boy, this is dumb. This is intriguing. And the key thing is, Joe wants a rematch. All the fans want a rematch. Now they want to go see Joe. And he said it. We're going to have to do this hard way. So we don't know what Joe's going to do, but he's going to go get this rematch.
Now the Russo fans are going to be very unhappy, because they're going to want me to say right now that Russo's an idiot, but goddamn, this was great here, and he did a good job with this. I would almost bet my life this was all Dutch Mantel. If you watched any Puerto Rico, this is total Dutch Mantel. The whole idea of you don't know. Joe wants this match. Angle just walked out. He didn't beat him up. You don't know. You don't know. And they're going to tease this one for a while, I suspect. So I could be proven wrong, but that's the way it looked to me. Dutch Mantel fingerprints on that baby right there. But like I said, the best and worst of TNA. What TNA needs is to differentiate themselves from WWE. And the best stuff on this show, coincidentally, was stuff that is better than WWE, that being some fantastic matches that are given some time. And just let the guys do what they do best. The worst of TNA was the stuff that was WWE from 1998. 2006, kids. It ain't the same business. And Vince Russo's stuck in 97 and 98, and it's the worst of TNA. They can't be WWE. They'll always be a cheap WWE.
Right. So
every WWE rip-off thing that they do is it comes out
that much more rip-off-y. I made that word up.
Well, I mean, you watch it and it's like, God, I could see this on Raw.
And it would be better on Raw.
And it would be better on Raw.
Yeah.
You need to concentrate on the stuff that is better than what WWE is putting out, and that's Joe and Angle, that's
Sabin and Daniels,
Christian and AJ, and Sabin and Daniels. Yeah. Not this bullshit with VKM and crap with Sting and Abyss and DQ bullshit and just crap like that.
And wrestlers feuding with GMs.
I would recommend getting the show, though. I will say that.
Yeah. Oh, fuck yeah.
if you're a wrestling fan, get the show just for the 3 great matches. The rest of the shit you can fast forward through, or maybe even just go through and have a good laugh like we did. But yeah, that's my answer to that one. So.
Now, adrenaline rush now. Adrenaline rush.
TNA was a good show with some wacky booking, although the real wacky booking happens next week. So it was opened up with Cornette announcing they had stripped LAX of the titles. This was a recap from the pay-per-view, and they didn't even bother editing out the crowd chanting bullshit. That was some good stuff right there. And by the way, now that I think about it, I don't think they vacated the titles.
No, that's to the best of my knowledge. No, they did not. They still have the belts.
We'll get into that in a minute, but now that I think about it, that annoys me. Abyss came out as your new NWA World Heavyweight Champion. Jim Mitchell cut a great promo on his behalf. And the story is that Sting is a preacher. He is a man of the Lord, much like myself. But he, I guess, succumbed to temptation at the pay-per-view. He used underhanded tactics, and it bit him in the ass, which may be a line from Genesis. I'm not sure. I will go back and check.
That'd be great if it was.
It may be.
Yeah.
I'm not fully... God was an angry man in Genesis.
Yes.
I don't care if anybody is an atheist or a Jew or a Christian or whatever you are, but somebody in their SIG... I once made the quote, "Read the Bible, kids," and they put that in their SIG. And I think that their idea may be that I am suggesting that everybody take on the Christian way of life or go to church or something like that. That's not actually what I meant, although if you'd like to interpret that way, go ahead, whatever makes your day. But the reason I said read the Bible, kids, is because everybody should read the Bible just for the Bible, the writing in the Bible. I will say this. I'm not going to get into the big thread about does God exist, does God not exist, are you atheist, are you Christian, whatever. But I will say this. If ever there is proof of God, it is the fact that the hand of man was able to write prose that is in the Bible. You read that Bible, and you will realize what great writing is all about, particularly Genesis, Revelations. That's some good writing, dude.
You once mentioned to me on a car trip somewhere that the best promos ever are by God in the Bible.
They are. Read Genesis when man gets kicked out of the garden. You will never hear a better promo than the one God cuts on man. When he's like, "You're fucked forever." When God gets... The entire Old Testament is about God getting angry for man's disobedience. He threatens them with plagues, and he threatens to kill them with death. I don't even know what that means, but
it sounds bad.
It sounds real bad.
It sucks.
Oh, yeah. That's some good writing there, kids. But anyway, Sting took the apple. Is actually exactly what Jim Mitchell said. But so anyway, fake Sting came out. Yes, fake Sting. It's 1998 all over again. Everything Russo books is from 1998. It's actually comedy now. At first it was like, boy, everything Russo books is like from 1998. And now it's everything he books is from 1998. It's comedy.
Does that mean Blood Runs Cold is coming back?
There's a flock. There's a fake Sting. There's Sting coming down from the rafters. There's DX invading WCW. There's probably 18 million other things that I'll get to in this, but it's absurd. It's fucking 2006, everybody. Move on with your life.
But Brian, it worked before.
Jesus Christ. This just annoys me. Anyway, Christian came out.
Christian was the fake Sting.
That's right, he was a fake Sting. I'd actually forgotten. I thought the fake Sting might have been Jeff Farmer.
Sadly, no.
Or Matt Farmer.
That would have been even better.
May as well have been. So Christian said he wanted a match and ended up with the first ever Sting versus Christian match signed for the main event for free.
With 45 minutes of build.
After a year's worth of build. A year's worth of build.
Okay, yeah, they announced the match 45 minutes before it happened.
I would have been far better with 45 minutes of build given it away for free.
Okay.
Jesus Christ, they built it up for a year and we're getting it on free TV on Thanksgiving, as Dave noted. The traditional lowest rated night of the year. That was a good one. So AJ Styles and Chris Daniels face the Naturals. More booking stupidity. As noted in the newsletter,
This is classic.
the storyline is that AJ Styles and Chris Daniels broke up, and then they wrote the angle to break them up.
Right.
It's now reverse booking, going back in time or something. It's like the old center stage tapings or the Disney tapings where titles would change hands before they changed hands.
Yeah.
Now,
Guys would lose titles before they would win them.
yeah, but that was just because it was taped. Now it's like things are just, it's like live things are going back in time. So they're going to break up. They announced it was their final match ever as a team, which of course it won't be, but that's another story entirely. They came out, they got along, they worked together, they destroyed the Naturals in like 2 minutes, and
They pinned them.
yeah, they beat them.
The team that's disappearing forever beat the Naturals.
Beat the team that's been together for 4 years and will be together for the next 4 decades, doing absolutely nothing. And then afterwards, Rhino came out to raise our hands, and this made AJ Styles very angry, and so he walked away. I have no idea why he got so mad,
None.
and
This just confused me.
he spontaneously just got angry and
And
walked
I don't know what Rhino was doing out there. When did Rhino become their best pal?
at the pay-per-view.
When he stopped that one bit, he stopped them from fighting and said, "Be friends."
Yeah.
So suddenly he cares about them heart and soul and wants to come out and celebrate a tag win with them.
That made the most sense of anything on this whole segment.
All right.
What made more sense than that? At least that was something that had taken place in the past and not the future.
The Naturals losing, that makes sense.
No, it doesn't. They're going to push.
No, it really doesn't, I know. It brings me selfish pleasure, but it does not make sense.
Voodoo Kin Mafia was at the hotel for Operation Cease and Desist, which I presume means they got a letter. And unfortunately, they did not abide by it. Then we had Cornette interviewing Petey Williams in mid-ring. There was no better man to do this than Cornette because Petey Williams needed all the fucking help he could get. This young man is not ready for his role here. So LAX came out, and Cornette asked him to hand over the... Oh, here's what happened. Okay, this actually did make a little bit of sense. He asked him to hand over the belts, and they said no, they were serving TNA with papers. And before they could get any further, P said, "I'm going to serve you." And he attacked them. They had a brawl. AMW ran in. LAX attacked them. This, that, and the other thing. I should note that in the middle of this wacky little beating, LAX went after Jim Cornette, and that's a little detail that's like, nobody thinks. If LAX is actually going to file suit against Cornette, why the fuck would one of them lay their hands on him? Wouldn't that be grounds for him filing a lawsuit in return?
A countersuit, I believe that's called.
Jesus Christ, these people are so fucking stupid sometimes. So anyway, but like I said, little deal. And in the grand scheme of this show, it didn't matter. But Angle ran out to make the save, and then Joe hit the ring. And if you'll remember at the pay-per-view, Joe wanted a rematch. Angle brushed him off. This time, Joe asked again, and Angle said, "Okay, I'll give you a rematch at the pay-per-view if you watch my back, and I'll watch yours." And now they're like allies.
I don't get it either.
Why?
I don't know. And this all started with Jim Cornette interviewing Petey Williams in the middle of the ring.
I didn't even bother getting angry about that stuff, because I've seen far worse from Russo. They toned him down to only doing 4 angles in this segment instead of 8.
Yeah.
So then we had Borash hosting TNA Spotlight. They plugged Arena Monterrey Saturday, in case you're fucking in Mexico.
Yeah, in case anyone watching the show is going to head down to south of the border to catch this show.
Monterrey is like deep in Mexico, too, so it's not even like if you're on the border.
It's not TJ.
Then he plugged some DVDs, pay-per-view, blah, blah, blah. They replaced Jeremy Borash as a backstage interviewer with a generic girl. Apparently this occurs next week. Why?
I don't know, and worse yet, they've replaced Don West with Jeremy Borash, because this should have been Don West's spot. None of it makes sense.
I don't understand. It's like they're so intent on being different from WWE, and then they do just the dumbest WWE shit. That's what we use a generic girl replacing a dude who actually can do his job.
Mm-hmm.
You can say what you want about Borash, but backstage during doing those interviews, he's awesome.
Oh, he's fine. He's fantastic.
God, they're stupid. Eric Young was in the crowd dressed as a turkey. Robert Roode came out, challenged him to a rematch, for the big match none of us saw on the pre-show.
Awesome. Yes, he said, "When you beat me Sunday," and he wanted a rematch, and I thought, when the hell did they wrestle on Sunday? And Mike Tenay noted it was on the pre-show, which I don't know when that's on.
It's on right before the pay-per-view, you dumbass. It's the
Well,
pre-show.
How would I know that since we've never watched it?
Well, I don't know how you'd know, but the idea is, would any of the fans know? No one writes this show for you, clearly. You'd have eaten the turkey. You'd have challenged the turkey to an eating, or you'd have tried to consume him if you played the Robert Roode role.
Well, no, not in this night, because Eric Young in this turkey costume was fantastic.
I'm glad you thought so. They actually had a pretty goddamn good match, all things considered, in a turkey costume for 2 minutes. Young pinned him with a cradle, and they're already breaking up Roode and Tracy.
Yep. Have they had one segment together where they were happy? Did that ever happen once?
No. And no, actually there was one, and it brings me to another point here, where Robert Roode had the line, "I didn't hire you for your body."
That's right.
Even though after going through 18 million different managers, coming out of limos and that sort of thing, he introduced Tracy first by merely introducing her breasts.
That's right.
He said, "Here's my new manager," and breasts appeared. He drooled on them, and that was it. But he didn't hire her for her body.
No.
This show sucks.
Sometimes it does.
And then he threw out a line about Eric Young could beat her in a bikini contest. So, yeah, we're going to see Eric Young. That's ratings.
That's coming.
Eric Young and the chick in a bikini contest.
I can't wait.
I used to be like the biggest Eric Young fan. Remember, I always wanted to get him on the show. I could give a shit less now.
That's right. I do remember that.
He does absolutely nothing for me now. Eric Young was great when he was like a heel that did wacky selling and was. They didn't try and push him as being funny. He just was funny.
Right.
Then all of a sudden, he's funny. Let's make him a comedy character. Let's make him a dork.
Let's make a comedy dork babyface.
Oh God, he's Eugene now.
Actually, that's pretty close.
I would have died to have Nick Dinsmore on the show. Nowadays, you think I want Eugene on the show? Tell me about the time, Eugene, that you had to act retarded for 2 straight years. Yeah, tell me more. I'm filled with hatred.
I can see that.
Then we had Nash in his X Division meeting when he accused him of being on steroids.
Yes, he did.
I don't even know what to say about this.
Anabolic steroids.
I don't even know what to say about this.
I don't know what the point of this was or what to say, but I do know that the highlight of it by far was low key sitting in the corner pissed off.
Yep.
We talked about how people aren't believable. I believe low key was furious with rage.
Yep.
Just as pissed off as he's ever been sitting in the corner.
Yep.
Having to do this wacky, stupid comedy shit.
Then we had Sting and Christian with the winner getting the title shot against Abyss at the pay-per-view. Cornette was inexplicably doing wacky commentary, which was totally fine, actually, because him and Tenay were great. But Don West had just vanished, and then later he just appeared. So it was a weird 3-man crew. Jim Cornette's like the best guy in the world on commentary because it's actually better when he's doing commentary for his own stuff.
Well, yeah,
because he's like the Vince McMahon from when he was a commentator, because he knew everything.
He knew everything, and he knew what was important and what he had to get across to the viewer.
At the time, Vince McMahon seemed like a horrible commentator, and I think a lot of people make comparisons to, like, you know, guys like Jim Ross that actually knew the names of holds and didn't just go, what a maneuver. But when you go back and look at old Vince McMahon on commentary, he actually was remarkably good because he knew what the big pay-per-view main events were. He knew what the angles were a year in advance because he was fucking writing everything.
Yeah.
And he did a fantastic job getting everything over that needed to be gotten over. And Cornette is the same way. And this was good stuff. The match was good. Sting was wearing a T-shirt and face paint. And when he's all decked out like that, he looks no older than 35. Praise the Lord, kids. And
he also busted out a press slam at one point.
He did it with ease.
With ease. And I know that's not talking about Abyss. We're talking about Christian, and it's a work. But still, this 48-year-old preacher off the juice hoisted Christian over his head.
Yes.
Very impressive.
So Tyson Tomko ran in.
Not very impressive.
Why? I don't know. Because he's a WWE guy.
Because yeah.
And this is the 4th brand, WWE Light. Killed Sting with a press slam into a fallaway slam, a whirly bird dealy bob. Christian's music then just played. They didn't bother pinning him. They didn't bother waking up the ref who had taken a bump. They just pinned him. And that was the end of that. So.
And Cornette on commentary was so awesome because he has to deal with the shit, and he's aware he has to deal with the shit, and he can't bury the shit, but he has to bring it up. He pointed out point blank he believes titles should be won and lost by pinning the champion in the ring, but you know, it was what it was, and he had to deal with it. And then when the show ended, and he had this wacky no finish in the number one contenders match. He threw up his hands and said, I don't know what I'm going to do about this.
I am glad I did not hear Cornette make that wacky comment about how titles need to be won and lost in the ring, because that came days after he stripped LAX because they were mean. That's bullshit. This was one of those shows where I watched it, and at the time I watched it and it was over, and I thought, that wasn't bad. It was a fun little wacky little hour right there, but as you break it down and look at it, you realize this is the most horribly booked show there's ever been. And I guess it's fine as a standalone show, and if people enjoy it, that's fine, but it's hard to build a product and to build a successful company when the shit you do is counterproductive to accomplishing that goal, and this very much is, and apparently next week
it gets shittier.
Is significantly worse, so